Chapter 190. Leave the ancient seal behind first. On the sword mark, a shocking sword intent soared into the sky, shaking the 9 heavens as it pounced over. Demonic curse. The skinny male demonic cultivator formed hand seals with both hands. Demonic curses spread from his skin and his aura increased rapidly. In the blink of an eye, he reached the peak martial god realm and unleashed a terrifying attack. You're courting death. The 5 core elders of the 100 Beast Palace were enraged. They revealed their true forms and surged with demonic aura. Rumble. An earth-shattering battle broke out again. Various ultimacies of the heavens and earth collided. The space within 10,000 miles was destroyed. Poof. Poof. Qin Yu did not stay idle. His figure flashed and his long spear was like a dragon, emitting a violent aura. The Wuxing realm demonic cultivators and low-ranked martial gods who wanted to sneak an attack on him died one after another. These fluctuations are from the 100 Beast Palace? At that moment, the peak martial gods of the Snow Marquee Mansion and Sky Crane Valley sensed the fluctuations of the demonic beast clan. They immediately gathered and planned to charge toward the battlefield. Boom, boom, boom. However, at that moment, beams of shocking demonic aura shot up from the ground. As the earth exploded, 9 people wearing armor and sabers at their waists appeared. Demonic chi billowed around them. They were the people who had appeared in the underground altar. Demonic cultivators? No, they don't have life. Are they puppets? The Sky Crane Valley, the Snow Marquee residents, and the scattered martial gods in the surroundings looked at the 9 figures with demonic chi in shock. Kill! Frigid killing intent suddenly erupted from the 9 demon chi figures. As the demonic energy filled the air, the 9 demonic figures charged out. Poof! Many martial artists were killed by the 9 figures before they could react. Their flesh and bones were devoured. The aura emanating from the 9 demon chi figures had clearly become stronger. Oh no! Attack! Kill them! The peak martial gods were startled. They immediately made their moves. Violent ultimacies of the heavens and earth raged in the heavens and earth as they charged toward the 9 figures. Boom! Boom! The 9 demonic chi figures possessed extraordinary combat strength. Facing hundreds of Wuxing and martial god realm experts, he was actually not at a disadvantage at all. The battle was extremely intense. The 9 demon chi shadows didn't have a real body. Even if they were smashed by the power Upanishad, they would reform quickly. On the other hand, the Wuxing realm and martial god realm cultivators who were besieging them could not withstand the attacks of the 9 demonic figures even though they were wearing saint weapons. Not long after the battle started, many cultivators fell one after another. Immortal body? What the hell is this? Dozens of martial gods were killed and devoured by the 9 demonic chi figures. The martial gods of the Sky Crane Valley, Snow Marquee Mansion, and the other major forces were the first to retreat from the battlefield. Although they did not know what these 9 figures were, they had no obligation to risk their lives for them. Since this was the territory of the Profound Firmament Domain, it was natural for the Profound Firmament Domain's forces to deal with it. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. What was strange was that after those warriors pushed him away one after another. Surprisingly, the 9 devil chi figures didn't chase after them. Instead, they flew towards a certain place in the secret realm. What happened? They don't seem to be interested in us. That direction. Is it the 100 Beast Palace? Let's go and take a look. Seeing that the 9 demonic chi figures didn't chase after them, the cultivators who had fled started to discuss among themselves. The top martial gods from the Sky Crane Valley and the Snow Marquee's Mansion were stunned. Judging from the 9 demonic chi figures' behavior, it was obvious that they were related to the secret realm. Instead of chasing after them, they were heading straight for the 100 Beast Palace. Could it be that the 100 Beast Palace had obtained some precious treasure from the secret realm? This discovery made them immediately follow them from afar. If they were really targeting the 100 Beast Palace, they wouldn't mind beating them up when they were down. At this moment, Qin Yu, who was killing demonic qi cultivators, suddenly had a slight change in expression. The demonic qi saint's seal that he had stored in the ancient dragon god's seal suddenly trembled. Soon, Qin Yu sensed 9 shocking demonic qi rolling towards them from the distant horizon. The 5 core elders of the 100-beast palace, Jian Hen and the skinny man, who were fighting, also sensed the 9 powerful demonic qi fluctuations. The seal has been broken? Oh no, run! The skinny man and the other martial god realm demonic qi cultivators seemed to know what the 9 shocking demonic qi were. Their faces turned pale. Without any hesitation, they immediately retreated. What a powerful demonic qi! Jian Hen also put away his sword and stood up, looking into the distance. In a few breaths' time, 9 demonic qi figures with overwhelming demonic qi entered his eyes. Jian Hen's eyes narrowed. Even he felt that it was difficult to go against the powerful aura that the 9 demonic guards gave off. This was definitely not an ordinary high-level martial god. It's the demonic guards. In the ancient dragon god seal, a ray of light flashed across the dragon god's huge eyes. Qin Yu's eyes became brighter. Since there were demonic guards here, it meant that the secret realm hid the real ancient demon tribe. Are they coming for me? When the 9 demonic guards appeared, Qin Yu sensed that the aura of the 9 demonic guards immediately locked onto him. Qin Yu immediately realized that it must be because of the demon tribe's saint seal. Let's go. Seeing that the demonic qi cultivators had retreated, the 9 demonic guards charged toward them again. The 5 core elders of the 100-beast palace immediately took Qin Yu and flew away. Whoosh! Jian Hen thoughtfully looks at Qin Yu, who has gone far away. A cold wind starts to blow around his body, and he disappears into the void. No. They've been following us. They're getting faster and faster. Soon, the 5 core elders of the 100-beast palace realized that the 9 demonic guards were chasing after them. No matter which direction they ran in, the demonic guards were relentless. I think it's because they're coming for me, Qin Yu said. Is it because of the ancient box? The 5 core elders of the 100-beast palace reacted when they heard that. Elder Qin, what's in the ancient box? Can't we just throw it away? The top martial god elder of the Golden Condor clan pondered for a moment before asking Qin Yu. The aura of the 9 demonic guards made them feel threatened. If the demonic guards caught up to them, they might not be able to protect Qin Yu. That ancient box is very important to me. Qin Yu shook his head slightly. When he turned around to take a look, he noticed the large army of martial practitioners following behind the 9 demon guard. 5 elders, since the 9 demonic guards are coming for me, let's split up for now. Qin Yu thought for a moment and said, You want to lure the 9 demonic qi cultivators away? That won't do. The 5 core elders of the 100-beast palace knew what Qin Yu meant and refused immediately. It was not easy for the 100-beast palace to have an alchemy saint. They could not let anything happen to Qin Yu. At this time, they were somewhat regretting that they did not send out more core elders when they left. Don't worry. I won't seek my own death. If I'm alone, I'm confident that I can shake them off. On the other hand, the martial god realm martial artists who tried to besiege us should be among the group of martial artists behind us. Be careful not to get surrounded. Qin Yu smiled confidently. In a flash, he flew away. Sure enough, without any hesitation, the 9 demon guards immediately followed Qin Yu's lead. Chapter 191. Those are the people from Sky Crane Valley and Snow Marquee Mansion? They have teamed up? Damn it! Seeing that Qin Yu had lured the 9 demon guards away, the 5 core elders of 100-beast palace changed their expressions. However, when they heard Qin Yu's words and glanced at the army of martial artists that had followed them, their eyes immediately turned gloomy and murderous. As opposing forces, they naturally knew the top martial gods from Sky Crane Valley and Snow Marquee Mansion. They had sent out 20 top martial gods together. It was obvious that they wanted to kill them all. It's that boy. What treasure did he get? The pursuit of the 9 demon guards made all the martial artists that had followed them look at Qin Yu. They also changed their direction and continued to follow from afar. Even the martial gods from Sky Crane Valley and Snow Marquee Mansion rushed toward Qin Yu after glancing at the 5 core elders of 100 Beast Palace. Follow them. Seeing the army of martial artists that had rushed away, the 5 core elders of 100 Beast Palace looked at each other and followed them. Although their strength was far from the combined forces of Sky Crane Valley and Snow Marquee Mansion. However, if Qin Yu's life was in danger, they would definitely not stand by and do nothing. Swoosh! Qin Yu, who had turned into a streak of light, saw the 9 demon guards getting closer and closer. He was not nervous at all. Instead, he was eager to try. Do you plan to use the 9 demon guards to test the power of the ancient spacetime killing formation? The dragon soul and the ancient dragon seal saw Qin Yu's intention. That's right. Qin Yu nodded slightly. The combat power of the 9 demon guards was not weaker than a peak martial god. It was highly likely that he would encounter danger in the Earth Spirit region. Therefore, Qin Yu wanted to know the power of the ancient spacetime killing formation, one of the trump cards that he had carefully prepared. Qin Yu did not want to use the god's punishment formation if he had no other choice. Although I have recovered a lot of my origin energy, I can only use the spacetime superpower a few times, the dragon soul said. If he wanted to activate the spacetime ancient slaughtering array, he would need the spacetime ability of the dragon soul. After we leave this place, refine the heavenly dragon soul. Since you want to walk the path of combat in this life, it is about time to condense a dragon body. Qin Yu naturally thought about this. As long as the dragon soul condensed into a dragon body, he would not need to consume a large amount of dragon chi when using his natal divine ability in the future. The amount of dragon chi consumed to form a dragon body is not a small amount. Although that heavenly dragon soul's origin energy is sealed very well, it is still only the dragon soul's energy. After I condense my dragon body, I'm afraid there won't be much dragon chi left for you to raise your cultivation. The dragon soul was both excited and surprised. Although he also wanted to condense a dragon's body and not exist as a soul, he still wanted to do so. However, with Qin Yu's current situation, it was better for him to improve his own strength. After you condense your dragon body, not only will your combat power increase, but you will also be able to sense the Dragon Clan without many restrictions. You can go and find the Dragon Clan earlier. Qin Yu said. Alright. The dragon soul was rather excited. Boom. Boom. At this moment, the 9 demon guards had already caught up to Shao Qin. They slashed their sabers in the air. Saber lights with surging demonic chi tore through the air and slashed out. 9 true dragon flashes. Extreme speed. Qin Yu's figure flickered continuously. After dodging the saber lights, he looked at the ground and at a huge palace. Qin Yu did not want anyone to see his trump cards. Swoosh. Swoosh. Without the slightest hesitation, the 9 demon guards immediately rushed into the palace. Rumble. After a while, deafening explosions resounded and the huge palace trembled. Snow Marquee residents, Sky Crane Valley, 100 Beast Palace, and other martial gods gathered in the distance to watch. There was only one figure that had quietly snuck into the palace. That person was actually Jianhen. It was unknown what kind of mysterious escape technique Sword Scar used, but it did not attract the attention of the surrounding martial artists. Boom. 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 Currently, an intense battle was taking place in the palace. The 2 parties involved in the battle were the 9 demon guards and Qin Yu. However, the strange thing was that the 9 demon guards, who could fight against hundreds of martial gods at once and became fiercer as they fought, were now evenly matched with Qin Yu. There was a huge and profound formation around the 10 of them within a radius of 1,000 feet. Countless wisps of white light swam around the formation like fish, causing deep ripples to appear in the sky. It was the dragon soul's natural ability, the space-time force. Under the space-time force, there were countless cold, murderous intent. The 9 demon guards, who were enveloped by the space-time force, slowed down by more than 10 times. In an instant, they were attacked by countless murderous intent. The ancient space-time slaughter formation was formed by the combination of the space-time force and the heavenly destroyer formation. Such an increase in combat strength far surpassed the simple killing power of the heaven extermination formation. On the other hand, Qin Yu was like a fish in water in the ancient space-time slaughter formation. His speed and other aspects were greatly enhanced. Whoosh! Qin Yu, who was as fast as a ghost, flickered his right hand. The killing and lightning auras swept out as a vast amount of true yuan gathered. The 9 netherworld dragon spear was like Shenron rising out of the sea. It activated the power of the ancient space-time slaughter formation and stabbed a demon guard. Boom! There was a deafening explosion. The demon guard, who had swung his saber, was directly pierced by the spear and exploded. The ancient demonic curse in the demonic chi was shattered by the heavenly destroyer killing intent. As expected, the power of the ancient space-time slaughter formation is enough to deal with a peak martial god. Qin Yu displayed a wide smile on his face. With the ancient space-time slaughter formation, his combat strength had increased by more than a few levels. After all, even if he activated the killing intent of the heavenly destroyer formation, he would not be able to unleash the power of the ancient space-time slaughter formation. Die! Qin Yu's figure flashed again. He was so fast that no one could see him clearly. The 8 demon guards were all killed, one after another. It's time to go. After the battle, Qin Yu withdrew the ancient space-time slaughter formation. Under his feet, lines of mysterious formation runes spread out and turned into a transfer formation. Buzz, buzz. After the formation patterns lightly trembled, Qin Yu instantly disappeared from the ancient palace. He had been teleported away. What kind of sacred formation is that? As Qin Yu disappeared, Jian Hen appeared. He looked at the place where Qin Yu had disappeared with great shock in his eyes. Wu Xing, who had the combat strength of a peak martial god, was able to kill 9 peak martial gods with the help of the formation? Jian Hen could not help but feel a chill run down his spine when he recalled how he had attacked Qin Yu and taken the demonic cultivator's holy seal. If he did not know the power of the formation and was controlled by Qin Yu, would he be able to resist it? After a while, Jian Hen came to his senses and his eyes regained their calmness. No matter what, if he wanted to completely destroy the heavenly demon cult and avenge his sect, he must obtain the holy seal, which was extremely important to the heavenly demon cult. With that thought, Jian Hen made a hand seal and disappeared into the void. Outside the palace. Why is there no movement? Is the battle over? The martial gods who were watching from afar began to discuss among themselves when they saw the ancient palace that had suddenly descended. The aura has disappeared? Could it be? After the 5 core elders of the 100 Beast Palace used their secret techniques to sense the aura, their expressions changed. They immediately flew out and carefully approached the palace. Chapter 192. Follow them. The peak martial gods of Sky Crane Valley and Snow Marquee Palace also flew out after communicating with each other. However, they followed far behind. If anything unexpected happened, they would be able to escape in time. They really disappeared. What's going on? I didn't see anyone go out before. Could there be a transmission array? After sneaking into the palace, the 5 core elders of the 100 Beast Palace were all stunned. Not only had Qin Yu disappeared, but the 9 demon guards had also disappeared. Judging from the situation in the palace, a great battle should have happened here. But what had happened that made Qin Yu and the demon guards disappear together? They really disappeared. What do we do now? Let's continue searching this mystic realm. Elder Wing, return to the palace immediately. The 5 core elders of the 100 Beast Palace looked at each other and immediately fled. All the elders of the 100 Beast Palace had a life beast token. Whether Qin Yu was alive or dead, they would know once they returned. Immediately, the 5 core elders of the 100-beast palace split into 2 groups and left the palace. The fluctuation of the sage seal has disappeared from the mystic realm. Now it's outside the mystic realm. Chase after it. The thin man and the other demonic cultivators who had retreated appeared among the martial gods watching from afar. After communicating with each other, they silently disappeared once more. Kacha. Beneath the mystic realm, another cracking sound came from the 9 altars. Another one of the 8 cursed ancient chains on the figure's body broke. At this moment, the aura on that figure's body had become several times more tyrannical, god-burying ridge, in the ancient forest of ghost veins. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Qin Yu, who had completely changed his appearance with a secret technique, quickly formed seals with his hand. Battle dragon seals continuously shot into the ground. Seal. As Qin Yu shouted, the ancient forest trembled. Ghost energy gathered and poured into one place. A moment later, a ghost vein several hundred feet wide was sealed by Qin Yu. The divine dragon ancient seal shook, and the ghost was sealed inside. Qin Yu's figure flashed, disappearing from god-burying ridge where martial artists were constantly gathering. Whoosh. Not long after Qin Yu disappeared, the martial god realm demonic cultivators led by the skinny man immediately chased after him. They stayed in the ancient forest for a moment, and then immediately rushed in the direction where Qin Yu had disappeared. After a few breaths, Jian Hen's figure also appeared. Qin Yu's strength was too shocking. It was better to let these demonic cultivators test Qin Yu's strength. Whoosh. In the void, Qin Yu increased his speed with his extreme speed. He was as fast as lightning as he traversed the void. Someone is following us. It should be a demonic cultivator. Killing intent flashed in the eyes of the dragon's soul. I have to think of a way to completely seal that ancient seal's demonic aura. Qin Yu, who did not slow down at all, pondered. Those demonic cultivators should have a way to sense the fluctuations of the demonic cultivator's saint seal. Qin Yu's identity could not be exposed when he went to the Earth Spirit region this time. He did not want his identity to be exposed when he went to the Earth Spirit region and fought with the myriad ghost palace. Forget it. Let's kill these people first. When he flew out of the profound firmament region, killing intent flashed in Qin Yu's eyes. He entered a mountain range and quietly meditated. From the looks of it, he did not seem to notice the demonic cultivators following behind him. Form the formation and quietly surround him. The skinny man had a ferocious expression as he ordered the dozens of martial god realm demonic cultivators around him. Although Qin Yu's cultivation was only at the martial ancestor realm, the combat strength he had displayed before was not inferior to a high-level martial god. In particular, Qin Yu had been able to escape from the hands of several demon guards. He might be hiding some treasures on him. They had to be careful when dealing with him. Whoosh, whoosh. After forming the killing formation and surrounding him, the skinny man and the other demonic cultivators immediately rushed out at an incomparably fast speed. Waves of heaven and earth profound attacks came crashing down on Qin Yu. I've been waiting for you for a long time. Qin Yu suddenly opened his eyes, and a murderous intent flashed at the corners of his mouth. A dragon roar resounded, and the ancient space-time killing formation spread out once more, instantly enveloping the dozens of demonic cultivators that charged out. What kind of formation is this? His speed is affected. No, it's the space. Don't panic. No matter how strong the formation is, he is only one person. Kill him. After a brief moment of panic, the skinny man and the other demonic cultivators' killing intent intensified. They all executed secret techniques to increase their combat strength and charged out. I am indeed alone. However, as long as I stand within the formation, even if there are dozens of you, what can you do to me? As dragon chi surged, Qin Yu charged out while holding a spear. Under the guidance of the spear, The might of the ancient space-time killing formation easily killed those demonic cultivators one after another. Impossible. This is impossible. What kind of formation is this? How can it be so strong? Could it be the skinny man who attacked wildly, but Qin Yu managed to dodge the attacks due to the influence of the space-time force, could not conceal the astonishment in his eyes. A thought that he had never thought of before surfaced in his mind. Could it be that Qin Yu didn't think of a way to shake off the 9 demon guards? Instead, he relied on this formation to kill all 9 demon guards? But was that even possible? The strength of the 9 demon guards was comparable to a peak martial god. With the 9 of them joining hands, how could they possibly be defeated by Qin Yu? Whoosh! While the skinny man was still in shock, Qin Yu had already killed the martial gods that were trying to escape. The 9 netherworld dragon spear with a shocking murderous intent fired at the skinny man. I can't dodge it. Damn it, the curse is lifted. Blood explosion. Sensing the chaotic spacetime force around him, the skinny man's eyes flickered with determination. The demonic runes on his body glowed as a destructive aura burst out. Bang! Qin Yu raised his brows slightly. The power of the ancient spacetime killing formation formed an invisible barrier in front of him. The next moment, a deafening explosion took place as the skinny man exploded into pieces. Blood-colored demonic chi swept out like a hurricane, sweeping across a radius of 1,000 miles. Half of the mountain range was instantly destroyed. Whoosh! A figure was blown away by the destructive wind. It was Qin Yu. Puff! Qin Yu spat out a mouthful of blood with a pale face. The skinny man had achieved the peak martial god realm after executing a secret technique. The self-destruction of a peak martial god, the self-destruction of the ultimacy of heaven and earth, was no joke. If Qin Yu had not blocked it with the power of the ancient spacetime killing formation, even with the fiery lightning dragon flesh, the skinny man would not have suffered such injuries. You've been watching for so long. It's about time for you to come out. Even though the demonic cultivators and the others had been killed, the murderous intent in Qin Yu's eyes did not dissipate. He turned around and glanced into the distance. As expected, I've been discovered. Did he sense my defense just now? A figure appeared. It was none other than Sword Scar, who had been following him all the way here. This guy isn't simple. I didn't notice that he was following us secretly. The dragon's soul observed Sword Scar and said, "Did he comprehend some kind of concealment technique? That's not the point. It's his sword art." Qin Yu's sharp gaze flickered with astonishment. "What's wrong with his sword art?" the dragon's soul asked. "I don't know why, but his sword art gives me a familiar feeling," Qin Yu said. Chapter 193. Familiar? There isn't anything special about his sword principle ultimacy. The dragon's soul thought for a while and said, "If Qin Yu felt familiar with Sword Scar's sword principle ultimacy, he should have seen it before." Qin Yu thought for a while but could not figure out why he felt familiar with Sword Scar's sword principle ultimacy. However, it seemed that Sword Scar did not intend to leave. "You should have seen the previous battle. Do you think you can take the demon race's Saint Seal back from me?" Dragon Chi surged on the 9 netherworld dragon spear. Qin Yu looked at Sword Scar sharply. The ancient spacetime killing formation would consume the dragon soul's origin dragon chi. Qin Yu did not want to use it if it was not necessary. Although your killing formation can kill a peak martial god, it doesn't seem to have much defensive power. Sword Scar held the ancient frost sword in his hand and a chilling intent spread out. Although he was a little far away from the explosion of the skinny man. Even so, he was confident that he could defend against the explosion of the skinny man with his cultivation. As for Qin Yu, he had received quite a serious injury because of this. This also showed that although Qin Yu was strong enough to fight against a peak martial god, his defensive power was not even comparable to a peak martial god. In this way, Qin Yu was not as difficult to deal with as he had imagined. You're quite observant. Qin Yu naturally knew his shortcomings. The defense of the 8th Revolution fiery thunder dragon body was indeed strong. However, it could not defend against the ultimacy of heaven and earth of a peak martial god. It was just like how Qin Yu's body could not withstand the killing intent of the god-killing formation. Therefore, Qin Yu had carefully prepared the ancient spacetime killing formation that would not leave any side effect. Swoosh! Without wasting time, Qin Yu's figure flashed and the 9 netherworld dragon spear lit up with mysterious dragon inscriptions and emitted a vast pressure. Heaven-shaking sword. Seeing Qin Yu charging straight at him, Sword Scar's eyes were as sharp as a sword. Swoosh! The ancient frost sword trembled slightly, and its sword power soared into the sky. He slashed down with his sword, and a 1,000-foot-long sword light descended from the sky. At that moment, everything in the world gathered with that sword ray as the center. However, the moment it came into contact with the sword ray, it was torn to pieces by the sword ray. Heaven burying 3 swords? I see. Looking at the 10,000 feet sword light that was like a mountain slashing down, suppressing over, he was shocked. The ancient space-time killing formation was activated. Pitch-black dragon scales appeared on Qin Yu's body, and the 9 nether purgatory appeared. His aura sword. Rumble. The 1,000-foot-long sword light and the space-time killing formation clashed, and an earth-shattering explosion occurred. The destruction sword will and the chaotic space-time killing will collided in the void. Break! Jian Hen yelled. A destructive sword might erupted from the sword light that was thousands of meters long. It wreaked havoc in the heavens and the earth, as if it could destroy the world. With a loud bang, the space-time ancient killing array exploded, and the chaotic space-time energy scattered. Not good. However, Jian Hen's expression suddenly changed. With a piercing sound, Qin Yu's figure appeared on Jian Hen's left like a ghost. The space-time ancient killing array appeared again and trapped Jian Hen. God-slaying array! Qin Yu stabbed out with his spear. Within the spear glow, a murderous intent that was several times stronger than before spread out. Jian Hen's hair stood on end, and he felt as if he was shrouded in death. Secret technique. Space escape. At the moment of life and death, Jian Hen spat out a mouthful of blood. In an instant, he turned into a wisp of cold air and disappeared under the spear light. Space superpower. Seeing Jian Hen escape from the space-time ancient killing array in the blink of an eye, the dragon's soul was surprised. A martial god could actually use a space superpower, which was extremely rare even in the heaven region. Space escape technique? That guy has indeed obtained the inheritance of the heaven-burying sword deity. Qin Yu, who was bleeding from the corner of his mouth, dispersed the god-slaying killing will. He looked in the direction where Jian Hen had disappeared with a deep gaze. When Jian Hen used the heaven-shaking sword style, Qin Yu understood why he felt familiar with Jian Hen's sword principle ultimacy. Heaven-burying sword deity? Who is that? Hearing this, the dragon's soul was puzzled. From Qin Yu's martial emperor realm to the emperor realm, he knew everything that Qin Yu had experienced. However, it was the first time he had heard of this heaven-burying sword deity. Seeing that Qin Yu valued him so much, it was obvious that he had a strong background. In fact, in the entire heaven region, those who could be called deity were definitely invincible experts of an era. Even when Qin Yu was at his peak, he was not called deity. The heaven-burying sword deity was an expert of the same era as my master. I only met him once when I was a martial king. In that era, the heaven-burying sword deity and my master were known as the peerless duo era. Until the heaven-burying sword deity and my master stepped onto the immortal-seeking ancient road together, Qin Yu said slowly. Immortal-seeking ancient road? Legend has it that the ancient Almighty went against the heavens and opened up the immortal-seeking ancient road? The dragon's soul was shocked. The immortal-seeking ancient road had always been a sacred existence in the heaven region. Since ancient times, countless peerless experts had stepped onto the immortal-seeking immortality path. No one knew where the end of the immortal-seeking ancient road was. It was as if everyone who had stepped onto the immortal-seeking ancient road had never returned. However, there was no doubt that those who could step onto the immortal-seeking ancient road were all invincible existences of the heaven region. Qin Yu's master actually had such a background? No, since the heaven-bearing sword deity's inheritance has been obtained, doesn't that mean, soon, the dragon soul came to a realization. Countless experts had reached the end of their lifespan or were about to die. They would leave their inheritance behind, waiting for the fated person to obtain it so that their inheritance would not be severed. After the heaven-bearing sword deity stepped onto the immortal-seeking ancient road, he must have left his inheritance behind. However, if the heaven-bearing sword deity had not died, even if the inheritance he left behind was discovered, it would not be passed down. No one would pass on their most important inheritance to someone else before they died. Just like Qin Yu back then, even if he only had a trace of life, he still sent the ancient seal of the divine dragon into the endless void. Now, since the sword mark had obtained the heaven-bearing sword deity's inheritance, the heaven-bearing sword deity who had stepped onto the immortal-seeking ancient road had most likely died. As for Qin Yu's master, it was most likely that he had met with misfortune. Immortal-seeking ancient road, Qin Yu's eyes flickered. How strong was his master? Even at his peak, he was far from comparable. Qin Yu found it hard to believe that his master would meet with misfortune on the immortal-seeking ancient road. One had to know that in his previous life, he would often go to his master's old residence. His master's life-blood tablet had dimmed a few times, but it had never disappeared. Could it be that something had happened in these 1,000 years? After thinking for a while, Qin Yu collected his thoughts and flew away. Even at his peak in his previous life, he did not have the confidence to step onto the immortal-seeking ancient road. No matter how much he thought about it now, it was useless. Whoosh! After leaving the completely destroyed mountain range, Qin Yu crossed 2 regions and entered a lone peak. After setting up a sealing ancient formation array in the surroundings of the lone peak, Qin Yu entered the mountain peak. Dragon Soul, get ready! Qin Yu's mind sank into the ancient seal of the divine dragon. The sealed heavenly dragon's soul immediately emitted a dazzling light, and an opening was opened in the emperor's seals. Roar! The dragon's soul let out an excited dragon roar, then turned into a stream of light and entered the ball of light. Soon, 2 incomparably fierce and mighty dragon might overflowed from the ball of light, wreaking havoc in the ancient seal of the divine dragon. The reason was none other than the fact that the young man was a real martial progenitor realm expert. That's good. The core elder who had returned to the 100-beast palace heaved a sigh of relief. However, I can't sense where he is either. I don't think the situation is optimistic. The young man with a single horn said. Elder Hai, even you are unable to sense it? The core elder who had returned to the 100-beast palace asked nervously. Not only is his token broken, but he has also consumed a lot of his bloodline power. The young man with a single horn shook his head. The natal beast tablet had fused with the host's blood essence. Since they were unable to sense the host's location, the only possibility was what he had said. Elder E, what happened when you went out with Elder Qin this time? That's right. 5 peak elders. Even if they encountered danger, they should have been able to bring Elder Qin away, right? The other martial god core elders all looked at Elder E. Don't worry. Since there is no danger to his life, he should be safe for the time being. Tell me what happened. The young man with a single horn also looked at Elder E. Even he did not know what had happened. It's like this. Elder E immediately explained what had happened in God-Burying Ridge in detail. An ancient mystic realm appeared in God-Burying Ridge? A demonic cultivator appeared? Elder Qin could easily kill a low-level martial god? 9 peak martial gods were chasing after Elder Qin? Then, how did Elder Qin get away? Hearing Elder Yi's words, the expressions of those core elders became strange. They knew that Qin Yu had the means to kill martial gods. They also knew about the war on the continent. However, Qin Yu had relied on an array to kill the outer mansion elder of the Snow Marquee Mansion. Even if Qin Yu's true strength was as Elder Yi had said, he could easily kill a low-level martial god. However, being chased by 9 peak martial gods and still having a way to escape made them feel strange. To be honest, even they would not be able to escape if they were chased by 9 peak martial gods. The young man with a single horn's eyes flashed. It sounded like there was a great secret on Qin Yu's body. I don't know how Elder Qin did it. However, when I left, Sky Crane Valley and the Snow Marquee Mansion were chasing after the other 4 elders. If Elder Qin is still hiding in God-Burying Ridge or the Mystic Realm, I'm afraid he's in danger. Elder Yi said. Sky Crane Valley and the Snow Marquee Mansion dared to surround and kill the core elders of my 100-beast palace. Elder Hai, let us go to God-Burying Ridge. The other core elders regained their senses and their killing intent surged. I'll go to God-Burying Ridge personally. However, Sky Crane Valley and the Snow Marquee Mansion can't let this go. A cold killing intent flashed in the young man's eyes. Since they want to start a war, we'll satisfy them. Summon all the core elders. Hearing the young man's murderous words, the killing intent of the core elders intensified. Yes, as the 100-beast palace was about to make a move. In a small remote city in the 100 martial realm, there was also a force that was about to make a move. Bang! There was the sound of flesh and blood exploding. A Wu Xing realm demonic cultivator was blown apart by a palm strike. Even the saint's seal was stolen. What a bunch of useless trash. The one who spoke was a bald man with gloomy eyes. The bald man's head was engraved with demonic runes that faintly resembled a strange beast. In front of the bald man, a group of martial ancestor realm and Wu Xing realm demonic cultivators knelt. They were all low-level demonic cultivators that had escaped from the mystic realm. Because they were weak, they hadn't followed the thin man to deal with Qin Yu. Thus, they had escaped a calamity. Since even the demon guards have appeared, the demon master might have awakened. It seems that we won't be able to go to the ancient demon mystic realm in the future. Beside the bald man, a weak scholar in white clothes said with a frown. But in the 100 martial realm, only the ancient demon mystic realm is suitable for us to cultivate. After developing in the 100 martial realm for so many years, do we have to retreat now? A soft voice sounded. It was a beautiful woman in a palace dress. Her expression was solemn. We'll talk about this later. Right now, the most important thing is to find the saint's seal before the protector comes out of seclusion. Otherwise, once the protector comes out, we'll all be dead. There was a hint of fear in the bald man's gloomy eyes. The expressions of the weak scholar and the beautiful woman were also somewhat unsightly. They knew the importance of the saint's seal. They also knew the temperament of the protector and the sect master. If they couldn't find the saint's seal as soon as possible, they would really be in trouble. Chapter 195. Are you sure that the person who stole the sacred seal is from the 100-beast palace and not someone from the Sword Firmament Pavilion? The scholar asked as he looked at the demonic cultivators kneeling on the ground. Absolutely. The demonic cultivators nodded their head. The 100-beast palace is in the east, but the sacred seal is in the west. It looks like that person hasn't returned to the 100-beast palace yet. The scholar's eyes darkened as he continued. Now is the best time to make a move. If that person was allowed to return to the 100-beast palace, it would be extremely difficult for them to snatch back the saint badge with the power of the 100-beast palace. There's no time. Let's get the other branch leaders to help. Only the 3 of us can go. When the bald man heard this, he looked at the weak scholar and the beautiful woman. Inform all the martial god disciples to gather as soon as possible. The beautiful woman ordered coldly, "Either we succeed or we die." Yes. The bodies of the Wuxing realm demonic cultivators trembled as they immediately went to inform the others. 10 days later, in the cave on the mountain peak, crack, crack, whoosh, whoosh. The ghostly aura that was so dense that it blocked everyone's vision had thinned by several times. The skeleton ghost king and the ghost eye of extermination, who were within the eerie ghostly chi, noticed an extremely obvious change. The skeleton ghost king's skeleton had grown several times bigger and it was now 6 meters tall. Just by standing there, it emitted a heavy pressure that couldn't be underestimated. Peak martial god realm. The benefits of the dozen faint purple ghost-patterned bones to the skeleton ghost king far exceeded Qin Yu's expectations. The skeleton ghost king was originally only at the Wuxing realm. After absorbing half of the ghostly aura from the bones, its strength had increased by leaps and bounds. However, Qin Yu didn't know that. Sun Yu had originally planned to use the skeleton ghost king to refine the martial emperor's body into a true martial emperor's body after he recovered his cultivation. If the skeleton ghost king merged with the bones of the two martial emperors, the skeleton ghost king would become a martial emperor. The skeleton phantom king's strength would reach the martial progenitor realm. It was not strange for Qin Yu to reach the peak martial god realm after merging more than 10 skeletons. The ghost eye of extermination floated in the air, surrounded by a series of clear and mysterious ghostly patterns. As his eyes blinked, a deep, dark light flickered from time to time, causing the void to faintly shatter. Now that the power of the ghost eyes of extermination had been fully unsealed, it was truly capable of breaking all laws and sealing all spirits. It would no longer be as simple as before, where they could only deal with ghost cultivators. Breaking all laws of heaven and earth. Even the profoundness of divine abilities was nothing difficult for him. Sealing all spirit. Anything in the world that had a spirit could be sealed. The strength of the attack depended on the strength of the ghost eyes of extermination. With the current strength of the extermination ghost eyes, it was likely that even a peak martial god would be able to suppress it. With the help of the skeleton ghost king and the ghost eyes of extermination, Qin Yu's battle strength had improved significantly. Now, if he were to face Sword Scar's heaven-shaking sword style again, Qin Yu would not need to take it head-on and would be able to break it directly. Rumble. Sizzle. 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 The skeleton ghost king and the ghost eyes of extermination, who were absorbing the ghost aura, both looked at Qin Yu. At this moment, bursts of thunderous sounds and slaughter energy appeared out of nowhere on Qin Yu's body. They whistled unceasingly in the cave. Among the 5 forces of heaven and earth, the slaughter spear aura and the lightning aura had already reached the 9th level. After more than 20 days of seclusion, they had finally undergone a complete transformation and entered the intent realm. Boom. When the 2 stages of potential advanced into concept, an extremely powerful pressure was emitted from Qin Yu's body. The cultivation that he had been suppressing finally entered the Wuxing realm at this moment. Rumble. The true Yuan in his body was like a battle dragon that roared and surged in the dragon vein. The true Yuan that he released also became more powerful. Qin Yu did not open his eyes. He was still sitting with his legs crossed and his hands formed hand seals. Although the slaughter spear aura and the lightning aura had both entered the intent realm. However, the 5 elements aura, the chaos aura, and the extreme speed aura were still at the 9th level. It would take some time for all of them to break through to the intent realm. While Qin Yu was in seclusion, more than 100 figures appeared near the lone peak. This group of people was the martial god realm disciples led by the 3 branch masters of the heavenly demon cult. A sealing array? Suspicion flashed in the bald man's eyes as he looked at the sealing array outside the lone peak. This place was remote and desolate. There were no major factions within 1,000 miles. The person who had snatched the saint's seal had actually stopped here all this time? Could it be a trap? The weak scholar and the beautiful woman understood and led their men to circle around the lonely peak. They were slightly relieved when they didn't find any traps. Get into formation. The 100 martial gods split into 3 groups and followed the bald man, the weak scholar, and the beautiful woman to the 3 directions of the lone peak. Attack! Just as the bald man waved his hand and gave the order to attack the lone peak's barrier. In the void, a figure appeared like a ghost. As soon as the evil cultivators of the heavenly demon cult noticed it, a cold sword light appeared between the beautiful woman's eyebrows and she died instantly. This person was none other than Jian Hen. They really came. Jian Hen's cold face revealed a vicious smile. Since he had almost died at Qin Yu's hands, Jian Hen had been hiding nearby using the void escape technique. He had been waiting for the heavenly demon cult to come. Jian Hen knew that the heavenly demon cult valued the saint's seal more than him. Therefore, as long as he hid near Qin Yu, he would be able to wait until the heavenly demon cult came. The situation was as he had expected. Who is it? This sudden turn of events caused the bald man and the weak scholar to be greatly shocked. The demonic cultivators in the martial god realm were startled. They immediately scattered in all directions. If they had been the target of killing an 8th-level martial god realm branch leader with a single move, they would have had no chance of surviving. The ancient frost sword? The sword pavilion. Seeing the saint artifact ancient frost sword that was overflowing with ice, the bald man and the weak scholar immediately guessed the identity of the sword mark. I didn't expect to fish out 3 branch leaders this time. The sword mark's right hand shook and the beautiful woman, who had been pierced between her eyebrows and had turned into an ice sculpture, shattered inch by inch. I see. I was wondering why Lin Meng and the others were wiped out. The weak scholar's eyes became even more sinister. Clearly, he thought that Jian Hen and Qin Yu, who had taken the saint's seal, were on the same side. Let's kill him first. Seeing that the seal around the lone peak had not moved, the bald man's killing intent surged. The bald-headed man's killing intent soared to the heavens. With a sweep of his holy weapon, he immediately charged towards the sword mark. The weak scholar and the other demonic cultivators of the martial god realm attacked wildly from all directions. Just in time. Sky-shaking form. A bloodthirsty light appeared in Jian Hen's eyes as the aura he emitted grew stronger. The ancient frost sword let out a deafening sword cry as its sword Dao soared into the sky. A giant sword appeared in the sky. Rumble! The giant sword slashed out and clashed with the hundreds of ultimates of the heavens and earth. A shocking battle immediately broke out. An incomparably wild and violent shockwave smashed against the ceiling formation around the lone peak, faintly causing the entire lone peak to continuously tremble. Chapter 196. In the cave of the lone peak, Qin Yu, who is meditating with legs crossed, slightly raises his eyebrows when he hears those violent explosions. After a while, the mountain didn't stop shaking. Instead, it became even more intense. Kill everyone in the vicinity of the mountain. Qin Yu's heart was filled with ruthlessness. The skeleton ghost king and the ghost eye of destruction, who were absorbing the ghostly qi, immediately charged out of the mountain. Ghostly qi? Jian Hen, who was in the middle of a battle, was surprised. The bald man and the weak scholar also sensed something, and they both looked at the barrier around the lone peak. Whoosh! Black light flashed as ghostly qi spread out. The skeleton ghost king appeared. A peak martial god ghost? Jian Hen was surprised. He didn't expect Qin Yu to have such a powerful ghost. Fortunately, he was wary of Qin Yu and didn't try to break the barrier. Otherwise, if Qin Yu were to join forces with the skeleton ghost king, it would be extremely difficult for him to escape after being trapped in such a formation. Whoosh! 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 The skeleton ghost king, who had obeyed Qin Yu's orders, charged toward the heavenly demon sect. The skeleton ghost king, who had become 6 meters tall, was so fast that it was a blur. In an instant, several martial god realm demonic cultivators were killed by the skeleton ghost king. Whoosh, whoosh. The black ghost eye of destruction could always find the flaws in the demonic cultivator's attacks and use the eye of destruction. Any demonic cultivator who was hit by the eye of destruction trembled. Their heaven and earth mysteries were broken, and their true yuan was sealed. They died immediately. What kind of eye technique is this? How can it break my sword light? Jian Hen's right hand moved, and an icy sword light slashed at a beam of destruction eye light that was attacking him. However, he immediately dodged to the side and looked at the ghost chi where the ghost eye of extermination was. His sword light actually shattered the moment it came into contact with the destruction eye light. Damn it, what the hell is this skeleton ghost? Facing the skeleton ghost king's ferocious attacks, the bald man repeatedly slashed at the skeleton ghost king's body, causing sparks to fly. However, the ghostly patterns on the skeleton ghost king's body were not damaged at all. It was as if the skeleton ghost king had an indestructible body. The more the bald man fought, the more fearful he became. His combat strength was considered powerful among the peak martial gods. But now, he couldn't even break through the skeleton ghost king's defense. This was too terrifying. Bang! This momentary distraction gave the skeleton ghost king an opportunity. As he punched out, faint purple ghostly runes glowed. Ripples appeared in the void as the mountain-like fist landed on the bald man. Poochie! The bald man was sent flying and spat out a mouthful of blood. However, before he could remove the force from his body, a wisp of ice covered his body. Almost at the same time, an icy sword pierced through the bald man's heart. Ice spread out in all directions, freezing the bald man and shattering him into ice shards. After dodging the eye of destruction, Jian Hen took the opportunity to pierce the bald man's heart. Retreat! The weak scholar's face twitched as he looked at Jian Hen with a murderous look. He immediately gave the order to retreat. The demonic cultivators of the Sky Demons sect who had suffered casualties immediately retreated. Just one sword mark was already troublesome enough. Now that there was another ghost and the Eye of Destruction, they couldn't handle it at all. Trying to run? Seeing that the Sky Demon sect had retreated, Jian Hen immediately used the Void Escape technique and chased after them. He had to leave because the Skeleton Ghost King and the Eye of Destruction had their eyes on him. If he didn't leave now, he would become a target. Facing the Skeleton Ghost King, who was at the peak of the martial god realm, and the mysterious ghost Eyes of Annihilation, Jian Hen didn't have much confidence in defeating them. Whoosh! Whoosh! The Skeleton Ghost King and the Eye of Destruction passed through the array and returned to the lone peak. After that battle, no one came to disturb Qin Yu in the following days. Roar! After another half a month, Qin Yu, who was sitting cross-legged, suddenly trembled. Then, a loud dragon roar resounded. Qin Yu's eyes suddenly opened as his consciousness entered the ancient seal of the divine dragon. He saw that the light that sealed the sky dragon's soul had gradually faded and the dragon's soul's shadow was revealed. Roar! Another dragon roar resounded. Immediately, a 1,000-meter-long giant dragon covered in faint black dragon scales charged out of the ball of light. It was flickering with chaotic dragon light. I've finally condensed my true form. The dragon's soul was extremely excited as it kept jumping around in the ancient seal of the divine dragon. Wu Xing's cultivation is at LV7 and he only has a spiritual dragon body? After Qin Yu sensed it carefully, he said in a slightly surprised tone. In the immemorial battle dragon art, the dragon clan was divided into spiritual, heavenly, sacred, divine, and immortal grades. The spiritual dragon clan could be said to be the weakest and lowest grade of the dragon clan. Originally, Qin Yu expected that if he swallowed the sky dragon's soul, the dragon's soul should be able to reach the heavenly rank. There's no other way. After all, there's only a dragon's soul and no real dragon body. The secret technique of flesh rebirth can only reach the spiritual dragon body. The dragon soul also knew the secret technique of flesh rebirth. As long as there was enough dragon chi, he could condense any dragon body. That's true. Qin Yu nodded slightly as his mind moved. The remaining sky dragon's soul in the light was refined by the ancient seal of the divine dragon and turned into majestic dragon chi that surged into Qin Yu's body. In an instant, Qin Yu's cultivation immediately soared. Wu Xing's LV1, Wu Xing's LV2, Wu Xing's LV3, Wu Xing's LV4. When he reached Wu Xing's LV4, Qin Yu's hand seals changed. Condensing pulse. Immediately, the main dragon vein crazily absorbed the dragon chi. The color of the main dragon vein, which was already dark yellow, became even richer. The subdragon veins also gradually evolved. This time, the number of subdragon veins increased by 7, reaching a total of 27. Heavenly stellar divine light. After refining the dragon chi, a dragon seal with faint starlight appeared between Qin Yu's eyebrows. At the same time, a mysterious technique appeared in Qin Yu's mind. Heavenly stellar divine light, the sky dragon's natural divine light. By absorbing the power of the stars in the sky, the heavenly stellar divine light was developed, and the power was enough to penetrate the myriad world. It's actually a mutated natural divine light. The dragon's soul and Qin Yu's mind were connected, and he also knew the sky dragon's natural divine light. Qin Yu had also refined the Sky Dragon clan in his previous life, and the natural divine light he obtained was the Star Dragon body. Absorbing the power of the stars in the sky to refine the Star Dragon body, and when cultivated to the extreme, the body could transform into stars and have the power to destroy the world. However, the Sky Dragon soul's natural divine light was actually the heavenly stellar divine light. This was obviously a mutation. Heavenly stellar divine light is better than the Star Dragon body. Qin Yu was slightly stunned, and a smile appeared on his face. The dragon's soul naturally knew the reason. When the Fire Lightning Dragon body reached the 10th level, Qin Yu could cultivate the third style of the 9 esoteric combat dragon, the Tyrant Dragon Divine Body. The Tyrant Dragon Divine Body's potential was far above the Star Dragon body. When cultivated to the peak, it would be enough to achieve true immortality. If it was the Star Dragon body, even if he obtained it, there was no need to cultivate it. After leveling up his cultivation and comprehending the natural divine light, Qin Yu still sat cross-legged and continued to comprehend the force of heaven and earth. 3 days later, Qin Yu comprehended the other 3 forces of heaven and earth and completely stepped into the realm of heaven and earth. The Slaughter Spear Force and the Thunder Force had also reached the 2nd level of the realm of heaven and earth. After refining the Sky Dragon soul, his cultivation and realm of heaven and earth leveled up, Qin Yu opened his eyes. Chapter 197. With a wave of his right hand, the 9 Nether Dragon Spear appeared. The grade of the 9 Nether Dragon Spear had long since reached the level of an inferior saint artifact. In the past, he had been limited by Qin Yu's cultivation, so he had not been able to advance to the divine grade. Now there would be no such restriction. Qin Yu gripped the 9 Nether Dragon Spear and poured his Battle Dragon True Essence into the spear. At this moment, the dragon's soul that had just condensed its dragon body and was leaping within the divine dragon ancient seal seemed to have sensed something, and its huge dragon head moved. That guy is really unwilling to give up. I'll go out and take a look. The dragon runes on the dragon's soul flickered, and it grew to 10 feet in size as it came out of the divine dragon seal. After forming a dragon body, the power of the dragon soul's innate space-time ability naturally increased by leaps and bounds. When the sword mark approached with the void evasion technique, he immediately sensed it. The inheritance of the Sky Burier sword immortal cannot be underestimated. Bring the Skeleton Ghost King over. Qin Yu commanded the Skeleton Ghost King to follow the dragon soul out of the cave. Rumble. Not long after, a violent battle broke out outside the lone peak. The sword Dao profundity, the space-time profundity, and the ghost Dao profundity wreaked havoc between heaven and earth. But soon, the battle ended, and the dragon's soul arrogantly returned with the skeleton ghost king. Although the dragon soul's current combat strength was far from being able to fight against a top martial god, it was still very powerful. However, with the help of the skeleton ghost king, the sword Scar was forced to retreat and even suffered heavy injuries. Sword Scar's spatial escape technique was directly restrained by the dragon soul's space-time divine ability. Buzz buzz buzz. At this moment, the 9-nether dragon spear in Qin Yu's hand was trembling non-stop. Dragon patterns spread out, and light flickered continuously. A clear wave of spirituality emanated from the 9 underworld's dragon spear. Success. Sacred artifact. Qin Yu opened his eyes and looked at the 9-nether dragon spear that was emitting a soft hum. His eyes shone brightly. The difference between a true saint artifact and an inferior saint artifact wasn't as simple as a spiritual connection. It's time to go. During this closed-door training, Qin Yu's strength could be said to have achieved a thorough improvement in all aspects. Now it was time to go to the Earth Spirit domain. However, before leaving, Qin Yu took out the demon race's holy seal. The demonic cultivator of the heavenly demon cult and the sword Scar that he could not shake off. The reason why the other party could follow him was because he had a way to sense the sage seal's fluctuations. After executing a secret technique to seal the demon race's holy seal, Qin Yu disguised himself and left the peak. With the amplification of extreme speed intent, even if Qin Yu did not enter the state of Azure Dragon battling the heavens, his speed was not the slightest bit inferior to a martial god. 20 days later, Qin Yu finally arrived at the Earth Spirit domain. In the Sky Dragon continent, ghost cultivators were not welcomed. In the Earth Spirit zone, they could be seen everywhere. In fact, most of them were ghost cultivators. Although this was not where the Myriad Ghost Palace's main palace was located, the Myriad Ghost Palace's main palace was located here. However, it was also one of the regions under the complete control of the Myriad Ghost Palace. No other major force dared to encroach on Earth Spirit Realm. After arriving at the Earth Spirit region, Qin Yu went straight to Luogue City. Luogue City was the slave city of the Myriad Ghost Palace. Here, one could buy all kinds of death warriors and slaves. The slave market was also located in Luogue City. Strange, I can't sense the fluctuations of a martial ancestor. After following the crowd and entering the 1,000-mile-wide ancient city, the dragon's soul immediately executed a secret technique. How could there not be a martial ancestor guarding such a large city? If a martial ancestor purposely conceals his aura, it would not be so easy to discover him. After looking at the bustling Luogue city, Qin Yu entered a glorious trading company. "Senior, what do you need?" A martial-honored realm maidservant came forward with a smile on her face. Since she could not sense Qin Yu's cultivation, it meant that he was above martial honorable. "Do you have any universal space treasures?" Qin Yu asked indifferently. The so-called universal space was very different from the Sumeru ring. The Sumeru ring could only store inanimate objects, but the universal space could store living people. The 10,000 fiend banner that Qin Yu left in the Qin clan was a universal space treasure. With Qin Yu's attainments in refining, he could easily refine the Sumeru ring. However, universal space treasures required special space gems, which were extremely difficult to find. "Of course, senior, this way please." The maidservant immediately led Qin Yu to the 3rd floor of the trading company where a martial god was guarding. 3 universal rings, I'll take this one." Qin Yu glanced around and chose a 3-colored ancient ring. This ancient ring contained 3 layers of space, which were completely isolated from each other. The space was also large enough. Although he did not sense the presence of a martial ancestor when he entered the city earlier. However, there were probably tens of thousands of martial gods in the city alone. Even with Qin Yu's current cultivation, once his identity was exposed, he would be in great danger. Therefore, after rescuing the Long family and keeping them in the 3 universal rings, it would be much easier for Qin Yu to fight or escape. After leaving the trading company, Qin Yu did not immediately go to the dead slave field. Instead, he chose a restaurant to stay in. However, after reaching the 2nd floor of the restaurant, Qin Yu suddenly stopped in his tracks. On the 2nd floor of the restaurant, he saw a familiar figure. Dressed in a black robe and carrying an ancient sword, he sat alone. It was the thunder-fire swordsman, Li Zhen, whom he had met once in the ancient battlefield. As if sensing Qin Yu's gaze, Li Zhen tilted his head and looked at Qin Yu. Looking at each other, Li Zhen did not recognize Qin Yu, who had disguised himself. Qin Yu withdrew his gaze and went to the guest room on the 3rd floor. Li Zhen's appearance did not affect his plan. In the restaurant, Qin Yu stayed for 3 consecutive days. In these 3 days, he had more or less figured out the layout of the Luogui city and the situation of the dead slave field. On the 5th day, Qin Yu, who had reinscribed the ancient spacetime killing formation and the 3 universal rings, went to the dead slave field again. The dead slave field covered a large area and was divided into several areas. However, there were only 2 areas that martial artists could enter and leave. One was the place where slaves were traded, and the other was the arena where the dead slave field fought. Today is the day that Blood Knife will appear again. That's right. So far, Blood Knife has won 158 consecutive battles. His battle strength is amazing. Blood Knife seems to be in his teens. If he is properly trained, it won't be difficult for him to become an expert of his generation. Unfortunately, those who enter the arena are all dead slave field. The Myriad Ghost Palace will not let them go. I heard that Blood Knife was a member of the Long family. I don't know if it's true or not. I also don't know how the Long family offended the Myriad Ghost Palace. The great family of the 100 Martial Realm was exterminated overnight. The arena was filled with people and the smell of blood. Waves of discussions could be heard constantly. The arena was 1,000 feet wide and was circular in shape. There were more than 10 passages inside. In front of each passage, there was a figure in tattered clothes. Their eyes were indifferent and fierce. In the center of the arena, there was a hole that emitted a brutal aura. Above the arena, there were circles of martial artists. The atmosphere was very lively. Everyone was discussing and placing bets on which dead slave field was the strongest. Betting on battles was the reason why the dead slave field was so popular. The winning rate of betting on battles could even reach 100 or even 1,000 times. Becoming rich overnight was a common occurrence in the arena. Qin Yu, who had quietly arrived, looked at the dead slave field. It was a martial ancestor youth with a cold expression and indifferent eyes. He held a blood-red battle blade. In the dead slave field, there were only battle numbers. That young man was able to obtain the title of Blood Saber because of his 100 consecutive victories. Chapter 198. According to the information that Qin Yu had gathered a few days ago, this blood blade-wielding youth was from the Long Hao clan. In the death slave arena, there were many powerful death slaves from the Long family. They would appear every once in a while. However, every time one of them appeared, the previous Long family death slave would either die in the arena or never come out again. This made many martial artists speculate. Did the Myriad Ghost Palace use some secret technique to stimulate the Long family members' potential? Once their potential was exhausted, they would die. However, Qin Yu could tell. The blood blade-wielding youth did not use any secret technique to stimulate his potential. This was his true talent. As for the Long family members who had disappeared in the past, Qin Yu did not find out any information. However, after rescuing the Long family members, he would investigate carefully. It's him again. At this moment, the dragon soul suddenly spoke, reminding Qin Yu. Qin Yu tilted his head and looked over, raising his eyebrows slightly. The dragon soul had discovered the thunder-fire swordsman, Li Zhen. Qin Yu sized up Li Zhen without batting an eyelid, feeling a little surprised. At this moment, Li Zhen's gaze also fell on the blood blade-wielding youth. What caught Qin Yu's attention was that Li Zhen was obviously different from the surrounding martial artists who were discussing the battle. His gaze was calm, and the ancient sword that was originally on his back was now in his hand. Qin Yu narrowed his eyes. From a certain perspective, Li Zhen was somewhat similar to him at this moment. Clang! The sound of a steel door being opened could be heard. In the middle of the arena, a figure appeared and floated in mid-air. It was a top martial god male. Following the appearance of the top martial god male, a fierce and violent aura that was several times stronger than before was emitted from the whole. In the arena, the auras of the dozen death slaves were clearly more tense, as if they were facing a great enemy. Bang, bang, bang! Immediately after, huge black shadows leaped out of the black hole and heavily smashed into the ground of the arena. They were ferocious beasts that were dozens of feet long. Their eyes were red and suffused with a bloody light. A fierce and bloodthirsty aura swept out like a hurricane. There were a total of 30 ferocious beasts, each with a cultivation of the martial ancestor realm. The cultivation of the condemned slaves was around the martial ancestor realm. Merely from the imposing manner of the ferocious beasts, one could tell that those ferocious beasts possessed overwhelming superiority. Roar, roar, roar! Those ferocious beasts let out low growls, their huge bodies constantly moving. If it weren't for the beast collar around their necks, they would have rushed out long ago. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this year's battle. The two sides of this deathmatch are 15 condemned slaves against 30 ferocious beasts. Both sides are martial ancestor realm cultivators. However, the rules this time around will be different from before. It will no longer be a simple bet on which side will win. Instead, it will be a chaotic battle. The martial god realm man had a smile on his face as he spoke to the countless martial artists in the spectator stands. As soon as these words came out, many of the onlooking cultivators were startled, and the heated discussion became much quieter. In the arena, the expressions of the 15 condemned slaves, which were already tense, changed. In the past, as long as they survived the attacks of the ferocious beasts, they could still work together. However, in a chaotic battle, if they wanted to survive, they would have to kill everyone. That's right. As you have heard, this deathmatch will be a chaotic battle. There will only be one winner who will be able to walk out of the arena alive. You can take a closer look at the betting odds of all the condemned slaves. As the martial god realm man finished speaking, a spiritual rune light mirror appeared in the air, clearly displaying the odds of all the condemned slaves surviving. Qin Yu took a look. The odds of the young man with blood saber were average, and his ranking was not high. Many of the martial artists pondered for a moment and understood. If only one of the condemned slaves could survive, then the young man with blood saber, who was the strongest, would definitely become the target of everyone. Not only would he be attacked by the ferocious beasts, but the condemned slaves would also attack him. Dragon Soul, when the battle starts, we will split up. You and the Skeleton Ghost King will attack. The bigger the commotion, the better. I will go and save the others. Qin Yu withdrew his gaze and quietly retreated to the edge of the spectator stands. Don't worry, leave it to me. Dragon Soul was eager to try. Although his cultivation was only at the 7th layer of the Wuxing realm, he had a natural superpower, so he was not afraid of ordinary martial gods. Qin Yu did not notice that Li Zhen had quietly approached the barrier of the arena, and his right hand was already holding the hilt of his sword. The bets are over. Then, the death match begins. The man at the martial god realm shouted loudly amidst the deafening clamor. With a cracking sound, the beast collars on the 30 ferocious beasts were immediately released. Roar, roar, roar! The roars of the ferocious beasts shook the sky. The 30 ferocious beasts emitted a ferocious aura and turned into figures that immediately charged out. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. As soon as the runic chains on the 15 death slaves' feet were released, they immediately flew away in a flash. Rumble! Surges of the heavens and earth exploded in the arena, and a bloody battle immediately took place. In the blink of an eye, 3 ferocious beasts were killed and 2 condemned slaves were eaten by the ferocious beast. Attack! Qin Yu summoned the skeleton ghost king with a thought. Boom! However, right at that moment, a thunderous explosion was heard. The spirit formations surrounding the battle arena immediately shattered. Accompanied by the shocking sound of a sword, a figure charged at the young man with the blood blade at an extremely fast speed. Along the way, the sword flashed and the 3 ferocious beasts that were charging at him were beheaded before they could react. The person who had attacked was the Thunder Fire swordsman, Li Zhen. This guy, Qin Yu was stunned. Dragon Soul, which had left the ancient dragon seal, also paused. Could Li Zhen be from the Long family? Let's go. Li Zhen's figure flashed and appeared beside the young man with the blood blade. He grabbed him and was about to escape. How dare you barge into the deathmatch of the 10,000 Ghost Palace? You're courting death. The top martial god realm man reacted and roared angrily. A vast ultimacy of the heavens and earth surged toward Li Zhen like a tsunami. The arena, which had been bustling with noise, immediately turned into a chaotic mess. Scram! Li Zhen slashed with his sword. The 3 ultimacies of the thunder and fire sword merged and turned into a destructive sword light. The top martial god realm's ultimacy of the heavens and earth was immediately shattered by the sword. In just a few months, Li Zhen's cultivation had advanced to the LV9 martial god realm. His figure flashed, and he was about to charge out of the death slave arena with the young man with the blood blade. Die. However, at this moment, there was a sharp sound of the wind breaking. More than 10 pinnacle martial gods appeared and charged toward Li Zhen in unison, their murderous intent filling the air. Boom! Although they were all top martial gods, they were still hit by Li Zhen's attack. Li Zhen was also sent flying, crashing heavily into the arena. Cracks began to spread throughout the arena. Li Zhen's sharp eyes swept across the top martial gods who were charging toward him with murderous intent. An ancient jade talisman appeared in his hand. The ancient teleportation talisman. The leading man among the top martial gods looked at the ancient teleportation talisman in Li Zhen's hand with sharp eyes. Seal. Almost as soon as Li Zhen crushed the ancient teleportation talisman, the leading man formed a seal with both hands. In an instant, the entire Luogue city was covered by a formation that covered the sky. The entire space in Luogue city was completely sealed. How could this be? Li Zhen, who had crushed the ancient teleportation talisman, was shocked. He had dared to enter the death slave arena because he had obtained several ancient teleportation talismans. However, the ancient teleportation talisman could not be used now. Chapter 199. The famous flaming thunderbolt swordsman would risk his life to save a condemned slave of the Long family. How unexpected! The stern-looking man looked at Li Zhen coldly. I wanted to save you, but I didn't expect to drag you down with me. Li Zhen's expression turned grave when he saw that the arena was completely sealed off. Now that the myriad Ghost Palace's experts were trapped in the death slave ground, it was basically a dead end for them. He had thought that he wouldn't be able to save every one of the Long family. But at least he would be able to save the talented young man with the blood blade. Unexpectedly, the myriad Ghost Palace seemed to have been prepared for the Long family's rescue and had sealed off the entire ancient city. Senior, who are you? The young man with the blood blade came back to his senses. He was used to life and death and had often been on the verge of death, so he didn't panic. However, he didn't know why Li Zhen would come to save him. I also want to know what's your relationship with the Long family, the stern-looking man said coldly. It's nothing. However, I was fortunate enough to receive some of the ancient dragon sovereign's inheritance. Now that I know that the sovereign's descendant is in trouble, I can't just stand by and watch. Although Li Zhen's expression was grave, his gaze toward the stern-looking man and the others became even sharper. The ancient dragon sovereign was none other than Long Hao, who had attained the monarch rank. Ancestor? The eyes of the young man with the blood blade lit up. He had been in the death slave ground since he was born. However, the Long family's past glory had been passed down by the Long family. The ancient dragon sovereign's inheritance? Capture him. The stern-looking man's expression brightened and he immediately gave the order. No matter how many inheritances there were, the value of a sovereign's inheritance was immeasurable. Fortunately, Li Zhen had walked right into their trap. If he reached the martial progenitor realm in the future, he would be a big problem for them. Whoosh! However, at this moment, an eerie aura appeared. A peak martial god didn't even have time to react before the power of heaven and earth around him shattered. A bone blade with faint purple ghostly patterns pierced through his neck. It was a fatal blow. Who's there? The peak martial gods from the myriad ghost palace were shocked. Although it was a sneak attack, the fact that a peak martial god had been killed with a single slash was simply too shocking. The skeleton ghost king appeared as the ghostly aura surged forth. This is a ghost soldier? Be careful, this is not an ordinary martial god realm ghost soldier. The martial gods of the myriad ghost palace were all at the peak of their cultivation. However, at this moment they could feel a powerful pressure coming from the skeleton ghost king. This aura of the ghost Dao is actually suppressing me. The dignified man in the lead stared at the skeleton ghost king in shock. He was the strongest among them, so he could clearly feel the pressure that the skeleton ghost king was emitting. The skeleton ghost king's ghost Dao cultivation method was definitely an inheritance of the myriad ghost palace. In fact, the skeletal ghost king's ghost Dao cultivation method was even superior to theirs. Otherwise, they wouldn't have felt such pressure. Could it be that a traitor had appeared in the myriad ghost palace? Whoosh! The martial gods from the myriad ghost palace were stunned. However, the skeleton ghost king did not hesitate at all. He waved his bone saber and slashed wildly. Capture it! A cold light flashed in the dignified man's eyes as he led his men to attack the skeleton ghost king. Rumble! The ghost Dao ultimacy wreaked havoc as violent explosions resounded. The entire death slave field shook violently as countless cultivators fled in panic. More than 10 peak martial gods were fighting. If they were not careful, they could lose their lives. Chi. When Li Zhen saw this, he immediately took the young man with the crimson saber and tried to escape. Where do you think you're going? The other peak martial gods of the 10,000 Ghost Palace immediately charged forward, causing the already chaotic battlefield to expand. While Li Zhen and the Skeleton Ghost King were fighting the peak martial gods from the myriad Ghost Palace, Qin Yu had taken advantage of the chaos in the Death Slave Field to disguise himself and sneak into the core area of the Death Slave Field. After passing through the arena and the place where the men of sacrifice were traded, Qin Yu arrived at a hall filled with ghostly aura. The martial gods quickly charged out of the hall to provide reinforcements. Soul-devouring curse. When the last Earth-rank martial god passed by Qin Yu's hiding place, Qin Yu instantly sealed him and devoured his soul. After refining his soul, Qin Yu learned where the Long family was. He passed through the ghostly aura hall and entered the underground city of the Death Slave Field. The underground city was huge. It was where the myriad ghost palace imprisoned the death slaves and the men of sacrifice. At a glance, one could see the death slaves and the men of sacrifice cultivating in the halls of the dilapidated houses. These cultivations were not as simple as meditation. They were bloody fights. Only those who climbed out of piles of corpses were qualified to stand in the arena. This is the place. Qin Yu calmly passed through the underground city and arrived at the palace where the Long family members were imprisoned. Less than 50 people, When the doors opened, the dragon soul's killing intent turned cold when it saw the few terrified Long family members. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Qin Yu entered the palace and moved his fingers. The talisman runes on the Long family members' feet broke. Oh no! Someone broke the Long family's talisman runes. At this moment, many figures with strong auras quickly flew over from all directions of the underground city. Withdraw. When the 3 universe rings appeared, those Long family members did not even have time to react before they were covered by a layer of tricolored light. Qin Yu put away the 3 universe rings and left the palace with a flash. What's going on? Where are the Long family members? Kill him. He must have a universe space treasure on him. The high-level martial gods and top-notch martial gods, who were attacking from all directions, came to their senses when they saw the empty hall. Berserk mysteries of the world exploded, shaking the entire underground city. Since you are all here, then don't even think about escaping. When the ancient space-time killing formation appeared, Qin Yu thrust his spear at lightning speed. The spear light flashed like a meteor. 2 high-ranked martial gods were killed on the spot under the influence of the spacetime power. Poochie. Qin Yu did not slow down. He pushed the extreme speed intent to the limit and seemed to merge with the ancient spacetime killing formation. He was as fast as a ghost as he flashed through the ancient formation. Every time he appeared, a martial god would definitely die. What kind of killing formation is this? How can it be so powerful? The martial gods of the 10,000 Ghost Palace were shocked. They wanted to flee. However, in the ancient spacetime killing formation, they felt like they were in a swamp. They were as slow as turtles. Die. Qin Yu was extremely ferocious. His spear moved continuously. High-ranked martial gods were no match for his spear. Peak martial gods could be killed in a few strikes. In just a few breaths, the martial gods died one after another. Lightning spear explosion. Thunder roared. Lightning crackled on the 9 darkness dragon's spear and tore apart a peak martial god. The soul-devouring curse flashed and swallowed his soul. Whoosh. After killing all the martial gods, Qin Yu did not leave. His speed was shocking. He turned into a beam of light and charged into the deepest part of the underground city, toward the huge palace filled with a noble aura. According to the information he had obtained from soul-searching and soul-refining, as long as the Long family's condemned slaves reached the Wuxing realm, they would be sent to the huge palace. As for what was in the huge palace, even the peak martial gods did not know. Therefore, Qin Yu wanted to find out. Chapter 200. Bang! Shattering the palace door with a single spear strike, Qin Yu rushed in. Hoo hoo hoo! Streaks of astonishing auras rushed over from both sides. They were wearing pitch-black armor covered in ghostly runes. Their gazes were indifferent, and their cultivation was at the peak martial god realm. Ghost soldiers? Qin Yu raised his eyebrows slightly. The ghostly patterns on the armors were similar to the ones on the skeleton Ghost King. They must have been refined using the secret method of the Myriad Ghost Palace. The only difference was that the skeleton Ghost King had already developed its own intelligence and was equivalent to a sentient being. However, those armored men were nothing more than puppets. 9 Hell's Purgatory. Pitch-black light spread out. In the blink of an eye, the ghoul soldiers attacking from both sides were enveloped by the 9 Hells Purgatory. Azure Dragon battling the heavens! Although these puppet ghost soldiers were all at the peak of the martial god realm. But this time, Qin Yu did not use the ancient spacetime killing array. Instead, he entered the Azure Dragon battling the heavens state. Wu Xing's cultivation base had been at the 4th level of the martial god realm, but now, he had directly advanced to the 4th level of the martial god realm. No matter how powerful the puppet was, it wouldn't run away. There was no need for him to use his trump card. Clang 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 clang. In the depths of his eyes, the ghost eye of extermination flickered continuously. With incomparable accuracy, Qin Yu found the flaws on those armored puppets. The 9 underworld's dragon spear pierced through their weak points and shattered the ghostly patterns. When the spear light pierced through, the sound of metal colliding could be heard. This voice, Qin Yu's eyes flickered as he grabbed one of the puppets with shattered ghostly runes. After carefully probing, Qin Yu found that the armored puppet's body was filled with all kinds of metal energy. This is the weapon melting technique? The dragon's soul was slightly taken aback as it recognized him. The weapon melting technique was an extremely vicious puppet secret technique. Using the body of a living person as the embryo, he continuously infused all kinds of divine weapons and treasures into it, refining it into a human-shaped weapon. The stronger one's will was, the more divine weapons they could fuse with, and the stronger they would be. Those people from the Long family who disappeared. A thought flashed through Qin Yu's mind as he watched the armored puppets being killed one by one. A condemned slave who was able to survive in the gladiator arena naturally had a willpower that far exceeded that of an ordinary person. Could it be that the reason why the myriad ghost palace allowed the descendants of the Long family to live was to refine the melting weapon puppet? Don't you know that only the sect's holy son can enter the melted weapon hall? Meanwhile, a peak martial god in a black robe with an eerie aura walked out of the inner hall. Qin Yu followed the sound and looked over. Through the door of the inner palace, one could see many ancient ponds. Boiling steam rose from the ancient pool, and one could vaguely see figures sitting cross-legged within the boiling steam. It is indeed the weapon-dissolving technique. He deserves to die. Seeing the appearance of those ancient ponds, the killing intent in the dragon's soul's eyes intensified. Qin Yu waved his right hand, and all the melted soldiers on the ground were collected. "Who are you?" The black-robed martial god was startled, but he immediately reacted. Qin Yu was definitely not from the myriad ghost palace. No ordinary disciple or elder would dare to enter the melted ghost weapon hall. Violating the rules of the palace would result in the death penalty. "The person who will kill you." Qin Yu's spear shuddered as he merged with the spear and thrust forward like a dragon emerging from the sea with a destructive aura. "Kill me? Humph, as long as a martial progenitor is not here, no one can kill me in my territory." The black-robed martial god wore a hideous grin. He formed a hand seal with his hands, and his body was covered in ancient ghost runes as a huge black shadow appeared behind him. Whoosh 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 whoosh. In the next instant, ancient ghost seals shot out from the black shadow and disappeared into various parts of the palace. Immediately, the melted soldiers with terrifying auras appeared like murderers that had been released from cages. Although the melted soldiers that appeared this time were also peak martial gods. The ghost aura they emitted was obviously more shocking than the previous batch of armored puppets. The source of the powerful ghost aura was the ancient ghost seal on their foreheads. Bang! Bang! These melted soldiers seemed to be good at teamwork as they continuously pounced at Qin Yu rhythmically. Wu Xing's cultivation is at the 4th layer martial god realm? No, since he was able to kill more than 10 melted soldiers before, he must have some secret technique. I'd better be careful. Combine. Seeing Qin Yu fighting more than 10 melted soldiers with his cultivation of the 4th layer Wu Xing, the black-robed martial god realm cultivator was not at a disadvantage at all. The black-robed martial god changed his hand seal, and the huge black shadow behind him floated out. In the blink of an eye, all the melted soldier puppets charged into the black mist. What kind of technique is this? Qin Yu looks at the several tens melted weapon puppets and the surging black fog. He slightly narrows his eyes and looks at the black-robed man. "Dragon Soul, go to the inner palace and bring the people of the Long family out." Whoosh! The dragon soul appeared and charged into the inner palace with the 3 universe rings. The moment the dragon soul appeared, the ghost eyes of destruction followed closely. "Dragon? It can't be." Seeing the mighty dragon soul, the black-robed man with a ferocious smile could not help but be stunned. Never had he ever imagined that Qin Yu would possess a true dragon on him. Where did Qin Yu come from? Oh no! However, in an instant, the black-robed man reacted and immediately chased after the dragon's soul. 9 Serenities Purgatory. As soon as the black-robed man moved, a pitch-black light spread out as if night had fallen. A superpower? The black-robed man's body stiffened as a sense of danger rose in his heart. He immediately attacked with all his might. The ultimacy of destruction exploded as it tried to break open the purgatory space. Vaguely, a dragon's roar could be heard. The power of 9 Serenities Purgatory immediately multiplied. It was Qin Yu's azure dragon battling the heavens that had raised his strength by a large level. Defensive array. The black-robed man immediately yelled as his vision and senses were suppressed. Immediately, a terrifying aura spread out from the black shadow with surging ghost chi. The dozens of ghost soldier puppets that had gathered together had now merged into one, transforming into a giant puppet soldier that was 10 feet tall. Even though it was still in the martial god realm, the aura that the demon soldier was emitting was much stronger. It was more than 10 times scarier than the demon soldiers. Even with Qin Yu's current strength, the aura made his heart skip a beat. Qin Yu was familiar with the art of weapon melting, but it was his first time seeing the weapon melting in such a way. The heaven-suppressing ghost monarch's lineage had many rare inheritances. If these demon soldiers were stronger, wouldn't they be able to fight against martial progenitors? 5 Elements Barrier. However, at this moment, Qin Yu was not distracted. The 5 elements intent formed an indestructible barrier with the 5 elements cycle, trapping the demon soldier within. After guessing that these demon soldiers might be from the Dragon Clan, Qin Yu did not continue to kill them. Chaos Intent. Spear Intent of Slaughter. Lightning Intent. After increasing his battle strength, Qin Yu turned into a streak of light and appeared in front of the black-robed man who was waiting solemnly. The 9 Serenities Dragon Spear pierced forward with a vast saint birth. 3 essences of heaven and earth whizzed out, causing the space to explode. Humph, so what if you can suppress my senses? As long as you attack, you won't be able to hide from me. Ghost King Heaven-Suppressing Fist. Sensing that the essences of heaven and earth around him had been activated, the black-robed man's face turned cold and ferocious. Ancient ghost curses circled around his hands as he punched out fiercely. Vast essences of heaven and earth turned into waves of ghost rune fist intent that exploded continuously like thousands of waves that could devour everything. Chapter 201. Boom. An earth-shattering sound rang out. Qin Yu's 3 intents of heaven and earth were torn apart by the ghostly inscriptions. The destructive fist energy rushed out of the 9 hells purgatory. More than half of the palace was destroyed. Huge cracks spread wildly in the underground city with the palace as the center. The condemned slave field, which was already shaking violently, shook even more as if it would collapse at any moment. This fluctuation, it's the melted weapon hall. In the arena, the dignified man who had injured Li Zhen and suppressed the skeleton ghost king with the help of the reinforcements suddenly changed his expression. The melted weapon hall was the most important place in the condemned slave field. Someone had invaded it? Send people to the melted weapon hall. The dignified man yelled. Many martial gods of the myriad ghost palace immediately rushed to the underground city. Sky vanquishing formation. However, it was already too late. In the 9 hells purgatory, the 9 hells dragon spear, which was completely black with flickering dragon inscriptions, was torn apart by the killing aura. The true killing move, the sky vanquishing formation, exploded with unparalleled killing intent. Poochie! The spear pierced through the black-robed man's intense defense and into his heart. Soul-devouring curse. Without hesitation, a soul seal appeared on Qin Yu's forehead and entered the black-robed man's body. In an instant, the black-robed man's soul was extracted. Melted weapon art. After a careful search, Qin Yu obtained what he wanted. From the black-robed man's memories, Qin Yu learned an important piece of information. There was a martial progenitor in Luogue City. Fortunately, although the martial progenitor was in Luogue City, he wasn't in the condemned slave field and cultivated in seclusion all year round. Otherwise, it would have been impossible for Qin Yu to save the Long family so easily. Weapon control art. Scatter. The 9 hells purgatory disappeared. Qin Yu quickly formed hand seals and sent one seal after another into the giant puppet. With a bang, the giant puppet soldier scattered and gathered into dozens of ghost soldier puppet. Dragon Soul, it's time to go. After forming a series of seals and completely sealing the ghost puppets, Qin Yu's figure flashed as he charged into the inner hall. The situation is a bit troublesome. The Dragon Soul's voice was filled with killing intent. Qin Yu flew over and his eyes narrowed. Previously, due to the isolation of the restrictions, he could only vaguely see the appearance of the ancient pool. But now, the situation in the ancient pond was clearly reflected in Qin Yu's eyes. In each of the 19 ancient ponds, there was a figure sitting cross-legged. Those people were bound by ghostly runes, and their bodies were pierced with numerous divine weapons. Those divine weapons seemed to have a mind of their own as they continued to drill into their bodies, causing blood to gush out non-stop. However, those people didn't die. In fact, their consciousness was extremely clear. Their faces were twisted with pain, but they couldn't make a sound. Inside the ancient pool, there were mysterious formations that maintained their life force. It was also because of this that the Dragon Soul hadn't kept them into the 3rd layer of the universe ring. Once they were taken out, they would die immediately. I'll have to seal these ancient ponds and take them away. Qin Yu pondered for a moment and a spiritual formation disc appeared in his palm. Formation flags fell like rain and scattered around the 19 ancient ponds. Formation runes filled the air as the 19 ancient ponds rose from the ground and were sealed into the 3rd layer of the universe ring. Weapon melting pool. While Qin Yu was sealing the weapon melting pool, in a secret room filled with ghostly aura at the center of Ghost Luo City, a skinny old man who was sitting cross-legged in meditation suddenly opened his hands. 2 bone-chilling black eyes pierced through the void and the secret room filled with ghostly runes shattered. The skinny old man stood up and took a step forward. He seemed to have disappeared from the secret room in an instant. Let's go. At this moment, in the underground city of the Death Slave Field, Qin Yu's body was like lightning as he flew through the air. However, before he rushed out of the underground city, he encountered hundreds of martial gods from the Myriad Ghost Hall. Kill him! The martial gods from the Myriad Ghost Hall were filled with killing intent when they saw Qin Yu. When the two sides met, a great battle immediately broke out. Dragon Soul. Qin Yu's eyes were cold as dragon scales appeared on his body. The 9 hells purgatory spread and covered all the martial gods who were charging at him. Roar. The dragon soul in the dragon god ancient seal let out an earth-shaking roar as dragon runes flickered all over its body. Killing intent filled the air as the ancient spacetime killing formation descended. A terrifying killing intent surged and raged. Die. Qin Yu, covered in dragon scales, charged into the group of martial gods like a ferocious beast and started a bloody battle. Under the dual attacks of the purgatory dimension and the ancient spacetime killing formation. Even though there were hundreds of martial gods from the Myriad Ghost Hall, they were no match for Qin Yu. One after another, martial gods died at Qin Yu's hands. When the pitch-black purgatory dimension disappeared, of the hundreds of martial gods, less than 40 were still alive and many were severely injured. In a few breaths, more than half of the martial gods had died. The surviving members of the Myriad Ghost Palace were all shocked. Their eyes were glazed and filled with disbelief. That's a high-level martial god. More than 10 advanced martial gods had been slain in a few breaths' time. Such terrifying strength. Could it be that he had already reached the martial progenitor realm? Most importantly, until Qin Yu's disappearance, they had no idea how Qin Yu had done it. While the martial gods were still in shock, Qin Yu had already left the underground city and returned to the dueling ground. Bang! Seeing the skeleton Phantom King and Li Zhen in danger, Qin Yu appeared at lightning speed. The Nine Hells Dragon Spear was like a Shinran as it charged into the battle with a tremendous dragon might. Bang! Under the power of the heavenly killing formation, the imperious man and the three peak martial gods who were about to execute their attacks were sent flying. Let's go! Qin Yu regrouped with the skeleton Phantom King. Li Zhen and the young man with the blood saber immediately sprang into the sky. If there were no martial progenitors in the Luogue city, none of the people of the Myriad Ghost Hall would be able to survive. But now they had to evacuate. No matter how confident Qin Yu was in his strength, he had no chance of winning against a real martial progenitor. He could only avenge the Myriad Ghost Hall in the future. It's you? Li Zhen's eyes fell on Qin Yu's Nine Hells Dragon Spear. His eyes widened in disbelief. He had seen Qin Yu's Nine Hells Dragon Spear on the ominous ancient battlefield. But at that time, the Nine Hells Dragon Spear was not a sacred weapon and Qin Yu's cultivation was only in the martial ancestor realm. The only thing that caught his attention was Qin Yu's attainments in body tempering. But now, in just a few months, Qin Yu's strength was enough to fight against a peak martial god? This was too shocking. Stop him! The imperious man who had been sent flying came to his senses. With a ferocious expression, he immediately chased after Qin Yu. Since Qin Yu had come out from the underground city, the incident in the melted weapon hall must have had something to do with Qin Yu. The other martial gods of the Myriad Ghost Hall immediately followed him and flew out of the death slave field. Streams of berserk profound energy that shook the heavens frantically bombarded Qin Yu. Oh no, retreat! The martial artists who were watching the show outside the death slave field were horrified. They were curious about the background of the person who dared to cause trouble in the territory of the Myriad Ghost Hall. But if they were involved in a battle of this level, they would lose their lives before they could enjoy the show. Chapter 202. That barrier has sealed off the entire Luogue city. Its power is not to be underestimated. I'll think of a way to stop the Myriad Ghost Palace. Are you confident in breaking the barrier? Li Zhen said with a grave expression as he looked at the sealing barrier above Luogue city that enveloped the entire city. If this seal could not be broken, then even if they managed to escape from the death slave field, they would still be dead. Don't worry. A sacred level forbidden sky barrier can't trap me. A smile appears on Qin Yu's face. A sparkling and translucent spiritual bead appears in his hand. He had experienced being trapped by the forbidden sky barrier at the Water Fairy Sacred Land. Before Qin Yu came to Luo Shao City, he had naturally prepared for such a situation. Boom! Suddenly, a figure appeared in front of them out of thin air. A destructive force pressed down from the heavens and earth. This is the law of heaven and earth? Qin Yu's expression changed and he immediately ordered the Skeleton Ghost King to stand in front of him. The 9 Serenities Purgatory covered Li Zhen and the Blood Knife Youth. Gotcha! In the next moment, the Skeleton Ghost King seemed to have been hit by lightning. Its ghostly bones broke and it crashed into Qin Yu. Qin Yu's body shook. The black dragon scales on his body flickered and the flaming dragon tattoos on his body lit up. Even so, blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. Martial Ancestor Realm. Qin Yu slowly raised his head and looked at the figure that seemed to have stepped out of the void. Although the skinny old man didn't look very eye-catching, the old man's aura was extremely strong. However, he was definitely a martial ancestor. Martial ancestor? The 9 Serenities Purgatory was shattered and Li Zhen, who was revealed, raised his head. Martial ancestor? There was a martial ancestor realm expert in Luo Shao City? The martial god realm was the backbone of the 100 martial realm. The martial ancestor realm was the peak of the realm. In the 100 martial realm, any martial ancestor was a super expert that could suppress a region. Li Zhen's eyes were filled with despair. Even if he was surrounded by the martial god realm experts of the myriad ghost palace, he still wanted to fight. However, he did not have the slightest intention to fight against a true martial ancestor realm expert. Martial progenitor and martial god were two completely different levels. Until now, there had never been a precedent of a martial god defeating a martial ancestor in the 100 martial realm. Fortunately, I prepared a backup plan. Inside the divine dragon ancient seal, the dragon soul's eyes were also incomparably solemn. Even if he were to refine his dragon flesh, it would be useless against a martial progenitor. Even Qin Yu, who possessed the primordial battle dragon secret skill, would find it difficult to fight against such a gap. LV2 Martial Ancestor Realm. Qin Yu wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. Although he had left a backup plan before the operation, however, facing a real martial progenitor, even if it was only the second-layer martial progenitor realm, Qin Yu was still a little uncertain. The only fortunate thing was that before coming to Luogue City, Qin Yu had improved his strength in all aspects. Otherwise, the attack from the heaven and earth laws would have been able to kill him. Elder Mo. The martial gods from the 10,000 Ghost Palace, who were chasing after him, all stopped in the air when they saw the thin man. Their anxious expressions completely dissipated at that instant. Since the martial progenitor realm Elder Mo had come out from seclusion, there was no way Qin Yu and his crew could escape from him. Strange, that skeleton ghost soldier. In the sky, Missouri Li Huang's skinny face was filled with astonishment when he saw the skeleton ghost emperor in front of Qin Yu. The skeleton ghost king's ghost Dao aura gave him a sense of familiarity? A mere martial god realm ghost soldier. I don't think I've seen it before. Mo Li Huang frowned slightly as his eyes flickered. Although his cultivation was only at the second-layer martial progenitor realm, he was a core member of the heaven-suppressing Ghost Monarchs faction. Otherwise, he would not have been sent to the 100 martial realm to guard the Luogue city. The heaven-suppressing Ghost Monarchs faction did not let outsiders know about the contracted ghost soldier. Although he had yet to be acknowledged by the contracted ghost soldier, he was not unfamiliar with it. However, with his cultivation, a contracted ghost soldier at the martial god realm was nothing to him at all. Why did he feel familiar with Qin Yu's martial god realm ghost soldier? Whoosh! With his escape blocked, Qin Yu did not wait for his death. He grabbed Li Zhen and Mo Li Huang and charged into the Luogue city. Stay here. Mo Li Huang simply reached out his hand and slapped. At this moment, the entire void of the Luogue city was boiling and trembling. An incomparably frightening natural law energy was gathering toward Qin Yu. 9 Serenities Purgatory. Heaven-battling Azure Dragon. Heaven-devouring Dragon Seal. Ancient space-time formation. Sensing the unfathomable force of the heavens and earth, Qin Yu uttered a roar as he executed his moves. A deafening dragon roar was heard as the black dragon scales on Qin Yu's body exploded while the fiery thunderous dragon runes burned vigorously. Dong! As the spear was thrust forward, a clear echo echoed in the rift, as if an ancient battle drum had been beaten. The hearts of the cultivators shuddered as their blood surged. Bang! Qin Yu's spear struck the heavens and earth with all his might. The sky shuddered violently as a ferocious shockwave swept in all directions like a tornado. At that instant, the Luogue city was severely damaged. Countless palaces and palaces collapsed, resulting in chaos. Bang! Qin Yu suffered great damage as he was slammed into the city, leaving a huge pit behind. Numerous enormous cracks, with Qin Yu as the center, spread out in all directions like a spider web. Cough cough! Qin Yu, whose dragon scales were shattered and whose face was pale as he spat out mouthfuls of blood, dashed out from the pit with a dragon aura circling his body. "Humph, you've overestimated yourself." The imperious man and the other martial gods at the death slave ground grinned after seeing Qin Yu's miserable state. He had dared to face a martial progenitor head-on. He was simply asking to die. Beast scales? Is he a beast? No, even the flesh of a beast wouldn't be able to resist it. Emo Li Huang raised his brows. It seems like he's hiding some secrets. Even though he had not used his full strength, he had not shown any mercy either. Qin Yu was actually only seriously injured and not dead. This caused Mo Li Huang to be astonished. It was reasonable to say that Qin Yu had used the skeleton demon emperor to resist his attack. However, earlier, Qin Yu had truly relied on his own strength to forcibly block his spatial laws. One had to know that with the power of his move just now, it was impossible for him to escape. Could even kill a group of peak martial gods with ease, let alone a martial god. However, Qin Yu, who had only achieved the fourth-layer martial god realm with a secret technique, had done it. How could Mo Li Huang not be surprised? Bang! In the midst of his astonishment, Mo Li Huang made his move again and pointed his finger at Qin Yu. A gust of wind blew. The power of the heavens and earth that was visible to the naked eye surged in Qin Yu's direction with a destructive force. 9 Palace Battle Dragon Formation. Qin Yu did not dodge the attack. He immediately performed a series of hand seals. The rift of the Luogui city was currently under the control of Mo Li Huang's control. Qin Yu had nowhere to run no matter how hard he tried to dodge the attack. Bang bang bang, as Qin Yu performed the hand seals, 9 loud explosions took place under the Luogui city. Following this, 9 directions around the death slave ground giant dragons made of ghostly auras sprang into the sky and formed a mystical 9 palace killing formation. The 9 giant dragons made of ghostly auras charged at Mo Li Huang at the center of the formation. Chapter 203. He's able to set up a 9th grade sacred formation with the help of the ghost vein? Where did he come from? Mo Li Huang, who was controlling the rules of the heavens and earth, pointed his finger at Qin Yu. His eyes glittered. An ordinary sacred formation was able to resist a martial god. A 9th grade sacred formation was indeed able to resist a martial progenitor. Besides, Qin Yu had set up the formation with the help of the ghost vein under Luogui city. It was a supreme grade ghost vein, which contained an immeasurable amount of ghost chi. A 9th grade sacred formation with the ghost vein as its source was not to be underestimated. If Qin Yu's actual body's cultivation was a bit stronger in that case, he might really not be able to make Qin Yu stay today. However, not only did he have the skeleton ghost soldiers, he was able to set up a 9th grade sacred formation with the help of the ghost vein. This also caused Mo Li Huang to suspect whether or not Qin Yu possessed some sort of relationship with their bloodline. Bang! Bang! 2 deafening explosions took place simultaneously. Qin Yu, who was unable to dodge, was struck by the force of the rules of the heavens and earth. Mo Li Huang, who was sealed by the 9 dragons, was also struck by the 9 giant dragons of ghost aura. However, the two were in completely different situations. Ghost chi surged around Mo Li Huang as the rules of the heavens and earth formed a shield to protect the surroundings. No matter how hard the 9 ghost energy dragons attacked, they could not shake the law of heaven and earth shield. On the other hand, Qin Yu was in a miserable state. The skeleton ghost emperor blocked the attack once again. Its ghost rune skeletons, which were already broken, were shattered into pieces and scattered across the ground. Qin Yu, who had thrust his spear forward with all his might, was knocked deep into the ground. His face turned pale as he vomited blood. Not only that, the dragon scales on Qin Yu's right arm had all burst open. His flesh was dripping with blood. Numerous deep bloody scars had appeared on his body. Even his bones were visible. Dragon soul! Qin Yu yelled in his heart as he vomited blood after being severely injured. Earth movement art! The dragon scales on the dragon's soul flickered as a unique aura was unleashed, encapsulating Qin Yu's figure. Withdraw. Li Zhen and Blood Knife, who had yet to react, were sucked into the 3 universe rings. Whoosh! Qin Yu's body glowed with a pale yellow light as he quickly fled underground. Since the void was sealed, he could only escape through the ground. Oh, so there's a teleportation formation underground. You've made ample preparations. In the void, Moli Huang, who was constantly being bombarded by the giant ghost Aura Dragon, seemed to have sensed something as a sneer appeared on his face. Gather! Moli Huang didn't waste any energy to break through the 9 palaces array. He just formed a seal with both hands and let out a low shout. The laws of heaven and earth began to surge rapidly. We'll be there soon. Deep underground, the dragon's soul heaved a sigh of relief when it sensed that the underground teleportation portal was getting closer and closer. As long as they reached the location of the teleportation array, they would be able to teleport away. Although the sealing boundary sealed the void space of Luo Ghost City, it could not spread to the underground. Boom! However, Qin Yu's eyes suddenly shrank as the yellow light on his body became several times stronger as he quickly moved away. In practically an instant, the ground that Qin Yu had entered exploded. Wave after wave of spatial laws began to rapidly spread through the air. Wherever the law power passed, the ground was annihilated. A large part of Luo Ghost City collapsed. The underground teleportation portal that Qin Yu had prepared earlier had completely disappeared. A law clone? What's going on? The 9 palaces battle dragon array didn't seal him? The dragon's soul, which had originally heaved a sigh of relief, changed its expression drastically. A law clone of a martial ancestor was different from a martial god's intent clone. In the martial god realm, basically no one would deliberately condense an intent clone as its power was limited. However, when one reached the martial ancestor realm, the intent clone would have several times the power of the original body. It was very powerful against martial ancestors, so it was naturally more than enough to deal with martial gods. The difference in cultivation is too great. Qin Yu's eyes turned serious. It did not matter how much his strength would be enhanced by executing the Azure Dragon battle the heavens. However, his actual cultivation was still in the Wuxing realm, thus he had only comprehended the intent realm of the heavens and earth. With the help of the secret techniques and the heavenly slaughtering formation, he could still fight against martial gods. However, facing a martial ancestor realm cultivator, it was not as simple as the difference of 2 levels. The force of the heavens and earth was the difference in the source of power. Whoosh! Qin Yu forcefully suppressed the injuries in his body and immediately escaped from the ground. If the underground teleportation portal was destroyed, it would be impossible for him to escape from the martial ancestor realm cultivator in his current condition. He would only be able to fight if he returned to the surface. Trying to fight with brute force? The dragon's soul understood Qin Yu's intention when it saw Qin Yu returning to the surface. Dragon soul, don't show yourself yet. Your natal skill will come in handy later. Qin Yu stopped the dragon's soul when he sensed the dragon runes on its body glowing brightly. Even though Qin Yu was facing a martial ancestor realm cultivator, he did not lose his cool. He was not in a desperate situation yet. The 9 palace battle dragon formation and the underground teleportation portal were not the only trump cards he had prepared. As long as the plan went smoothly, it would not be a problem for him to escape. Bang! As Qin Yu dashed out from the ground, a human figure sprang out from the ground and appeared in the air. Its aura was locked onto Qin Yu. You have nowhere to run. Don't fight like a cornered beast. Mo Li Huang's gaze was indifferent. He looked at the heavily injured Qin Yu whose entire body was ruptured. If it weren't for the fact that he was interested in Qin Yu's background, he would have killed him long ago. Whoosh! Qin Yu did not waste any time. He sprang forward at lightning speed. His target was none other than Mo Li Huang. Qin Yu was emitting a ferocious aura, as if he was going to sacrifice his life. Mo Li Huang raised his brows. Was he trying to fight with his life on the line? If that's the case, I'll send you on your way. Mo Li Huang groaned. The rules of the heavens and earth around him exploded, knocking the 9 giant dragons flying. Die! Mo Li Huang pointed his finger forward. Facing a martial god, he did not need to use any other means to kill them. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. In the void, the boundless natural laws were surging. With Qin Yu as the target, they frantically gathered toward him. Explode! However, at that instant, Qin Yu swiftly performed a hand seal and spat out a mouthful of blood onto the seal. Rumble! Immediately, the entire Luogue city began to tremble violently, as if an earthquake or a tsunami had struck. Demonic vein? Damn it, did he just detonate the demonic vein? How did he do that? The martial gods of the 10,000 Phantom Hall who had backed away were astounded. They glanced at the Luogue city. Bang bang bang! Almost at that instant, enormous pillars of demonic aura sprang into the sky. The entire Luogue city was completely destroyed by the pillars of demonic aura. At this moment, the ceiling barrier that had sealed off the entire city was shattered into pieces. Even the natural laws that were swarming toward Qin Yu were faintly being scattered by the shockwave. The sky above the Luogue city became extremely unstable, like a volcano that was about to erupt at any time. You're courting death. Mo Li Huang's eyes flickered coldly. Cultivators cultivated by absorbing the qi emitted by the spirit vein. The path of the ghost cultivators was naturally absorbing the demonic qi to cultivate. Now that the demonic vein had been destroyed by Qin Yu, they could no longer cultivate here even if they rebuilt the Luogue city. The demonic vein was rarer than the spirit vein, not to mention the supreme-grade demonic vein. A strong murderous intent rose in Mo Li Huang's heart. Unfortunately, you won't be able to kill me. Qin Yu, who was dashing forward while covered in blood, wore a smile on his face as he rapidly performed hand seals. If Mo Li Huang couldn't see through his plan and stop him from detonating the ghost vein, then his plan would have succeeded. Chapter 204. War Dragon Sealing the Sky. As Qin Yu's hands formed hand seals, in Luogue City, pillars of ghost qi soared into the sky. At this moment, they were all attracted by a strange force and gathered in the 9-Palace War Dragon formation. After the 9-Palace War Dragon formation shook violently, it condensed into a lifelike pitch-black ancient dragon that was 10 feet long. Not good. Mo Li Huang, who was about to kill, couldn't help but change his expression when he saw the pitch-black ancient dragon. The supreme-grade ghost vein under Luogue City could allow millions of ghost cultivators to cultivate without any worries. Now, Qin Yu was actually combining the power of the entire ghost vein with the 9-Palace War Dragon formation. It was obvious how terrifying the power contained in the pitch-black ancient dragon was. Whoosh! However, Qin Yu didn't give Mo Li Huang time to react. The moment the pitch-black ancient dragon condensed, he immediately pointed with both hands. The void shook as the pitch-black ancient dragon flashed across the sky and immediately bound Mo Li Huang tightly. Break for me! Mo Li Huang roared, and the violent laws of heaven and earth exploded continuously, causing the world to tremble. Although the pitch-black ancient dragon shook violently, it didn't collapse. Success! Qin Yu's eyes lit up. Runes spread out from the formation disc in his left hand and a teleportation array formed. Mere ant, don't even think about escaping from my hands. Secret technique, soul split. Mo Li Huang, who was imprisoned, had a ferocious look on his face. He shouted as a wisp of soul power left his body and entered the law clone. Rumble! Immediately, that heavenly law clone charged toward Qin Yu with the might of the boundless heavenly laws. between the heaven and earth, those natural laws that had become unstable from the collision were rushing toward Qin Yu one after another. Dragon soul. The air tightened, and Qin Yu felt that his body was suppressed to the point that he couldn't move. His gaze immediately became determined. The war dragon True Yuan in his body burned wildly, and his aura soared as he broke free from the pressure of laws. Divine power, space-time reversal. The soul that had been prepared immediately understood, and the dragon patterns on its body exploded. With Qin Yu as the center, a burst of space-time energy spread out. Deep ripples appeared in the void. The speed of the attacking law avatars and law powers was greatly affected. Die. Seeing Qin Yu break free from the pressure, Mo Lihuang flew into a rage. As the ghostly runes spread out, the law avatar turned into a beam of black light that shot towards Qin Yu like a bolt of lightning. Ghost Eye of Extermination. Heavenly Stellar Godlight. Qin Yu's expression changed. Starlight radiated from his body, and faint dragon roars of stars appeared on his forehead. The pitch-black light in his right eye exploded, destroying everything. The starry divine light in his left eye pierced through the void, tearing everything apart. The heavenly dragon divine ability that had always been concealed by Qin Yu was still unleashed. The three beams of light collided in the void. There was no violent explosion, but after a stalemate, they were constantly annihilated. But soon the outcome was decided. The ghost eye of extermination and the heavenly stellar divine light were shattered by the ghost curse black light. Qin Yu did not reveal the slightest bit of surprise toward this. The ghost eye of extermination and the heavenly stellar divine light were indeed very powerful. But his cultivation was too low, so he couldn't unleash their true power. Skeleton Ghost King. However, with this momentary confrontation, the teleportation array in Qin Yu's palm was completed. Seeing the ghost curse black light, Qin Yu blocked the skeleton Ghost King in front of him. Boom! After a violent explosion, the skeleton Ghost King exploded into pieces. When the violent law powers dissipated, Qin Yu and the skeleton Ghost King's soul had disappeared. Bastard! A violent aura that seemed to want to destroy the world soared into the sky. The hearts of the countless cultivators that had escaped from Luogue City trembled. It was Mo Lihuang who had finally broken free from the heavenly dragon sealing technique. Looking at the ruins of Luogue City, Mo Lihuang's face was as ugly as it could be. A mere cultivator of the Wuxing realm had managed to escape when he had personally taken action. It was a great humiliation. Even if he crushed Qin Yu's bones and scattered his ashes, he still wouldn't be able to wash it away. Elder Mo. At this moment, the martial gods of the 10,000 Ghost Palace finally came over carefully. They did not dare to get close to the terrifying aftermath of the battle between Qin Yu and Mo Lihuang. Inform everyone, even if we have to turn the entire 100 martial realm upside down, we must. Mo Lihuang, who was suppressing his anger, suddenly stopped talking as he stared at a certain spot. Elder Mo? The hearts of the martial god realm elders skipped a beat. Could it be that Elder Mo was injured in the battle? Whoosh! Mo Lihuang ignored them. With a flicker, he landed somewhere in the ruins of Luogue City. Could this be? Mo Lihuang's hands trembled as he pulled out more than 10 pieces of broken bones from the ruins. These broken bones were surrounded by purple ghostly runes, which were automatically absorbing the ghostly qi in the air. It was the remains of the skeleton Ghost King after it had been destroyed. It's really the life ghostly runes of the first saint and the seventh saint? Mo Lihuang was extremely excited. His entire body was trembling. No wonder he felt familiar with the skeleton Ghost King. The skeleton Ghost King's remains contained the life ghostly runes of the two saints. So, where did that kid see the first saint and the seventh saint? Yes, he must have seen them. Otherwise, he wouldn't have gotten the life ghostly runes of the two saints. Maybe he even has the ancient immortal token. The more Mo Lihuang thought about it, the more excited he became. The two saints he mentioned were naturally Sun Yu, who had created the 10,000 Ghost Palace, and the first disciple who had hunted him down. Mo Li Huang had been sent to the 100 Martial Realm. Apart from being in charge of the 10,000 Ghost Palace, he had another mission. It was to find information about Sun Yu and the seventh saint, Ghost Emperor Zhen Tian's personal disciples. Unfortunately, Sun Yu had mysteriously disappeared for hundreds of years after being hunted down by the first saint. Mo Li Huang had never found any clues about Sun Yu and the first saint. However, he didn't expect Qin Yu to appear out of nowhere. The skeleton ghost king he had with him had the life ghostly runes of Sun Yu and the seventh saint. Mo Li Huang didn't care about the lives of the two saints. However, the ancient immortal token was an important treasure of the Ghost Emperor Zhen Tian. The Ghost Emperor Zhen Tian, who had been in seclusion for hundreds of years, had only come out once to offer a reward for the ancient immortal token. Anyone who obtained the ancient immortal token could become his personal disciple. Thinking of this, Mo Li Huang's eyes burned with passion. His blood was boiling. Apart from being excited, Mo Li Huang was also annoyed. If he had sensed that the skeleton ghost king had the life ghostly runes of the two saints, he wouldn't have been so careless as to fall into Qin Yu's trap. "I'll go back to the 10,000 Ghost Palace. Send someone to clean up this place." Mo Li Huang spread out his senses and collected all the bones of the skeleton ghost king. "Elder Mo, that person might not have escaped far. Don't you need us to track him down?" The martial gods of the 10,000 Ghost Palace couldn't help but ask. Why did Mo Li Huang's attitude change so drastically in the blink of an eye? "You don't have to be responsible for tracking him down," Mo Li Huang said and flew into the sky. Since Qin Yu had prepared a transportation formation, it wouldn't be easy to find him. However, the 10,000 Ghost Palace had developed in the 100 Martial Realm for hundreds of years. They weren't weak. As long as Qin Yu wasn't dead, they would be able to rescue him no matter how deep he hid himself. One's appearance could be disguised, but it was impossible to completely erase the intent of heaven and earth, divine abilities, secret techniques, and so on. As long as there was a trace, they would be able to find Qin Yu. Chapter 205. What does Elder Mo mean? The martial gods of the myriad Ghost Palace were confused when they saw Mo Li Huang disappear in the blink of an eye. The people of the Long clan had been rescued, the weapon melting pool had been destroyed, and the supreme grade ghost vein had been detonated. Not only had the myriad Ghost Palace lost their reputation, they had suffered a great loss too, and Elder Mo had left just like that? Damn it, Li Zhan and that guy, I must find them and make them regret living. The imperious martial god wore an unpleasant expression as he stared at the Luogue city that had turned into ruins. The Luogue city was one of the most important locations in the Earth Spirit Zone. Otherwise, there would not be a martial progenitor realm expert guarding it. However, it had been completely destroyed by Qin Yu, who had appeared out of nowhere. The imperious man's murderous intent was unimaginable. Whoosh! At that instant, a blue glow appeared out of nowhere and sprang forward at lightning speed. The imperious man was struck by the blue glow before he could react, causing his soul to be extracted. A hunchbacked figure appeared in the sky above the Luogue city. It was an old man in a gray robe with only one left arm. His entire body emitted a lifeless aura. "Who's there?" The peak martial gods of the myriad Ghost Palace were shocked upon seeing this, who immediately made their moves. Unfortunately, the one-armed old man held the cyan light in his hand, took a step forward, and instantly disappeared. Such speed! The martial gods of the myriad Ghost Palace were astounded. Not only had the old man extracted the soul of a peak martial god with a single move, he had also disappeared in an instant despite being surrounded by so many of them. The strength of the one-armed old man was too shocking. Could he be a martial progenitor realm expert? Meanwhile, in an ancient stone palace over 10,000 li away from the Luogue city, the one-armed old man who had just appeared in the Luogue city was currently sitting at the center of the palace. In front of him was an ancient copper mirror. The soul of the peak martial god was currently sealed inside the copper mirror. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Then, the one-armed old man struck the bronze mirror with a series of ancient green seals. The copper mirror began to vibrate, before emitting an obscure glow. In the next moment, a series of images appeared on the bronze plate. Those scenes were from the beginning of the Skeleton Ghost King to the end of Qin Yu's battle with Moli Huang and his escape. Azure Dragon battling the heavens, heaven-devouring dragon seal, celestial slaughter formation, the killing intent of the gods. Seeing Qin Yu's secret skill in the bronze mirror, the one-armed old man's murky eyes lit up like stars. Sure enough, it's the primordial battle dragon secret skill and the immortal extermination formation. 100 Martial Realm, Heavenly Scar region, in a desolate mountain with few people. In the depths of the barren mountains, in a hidden valley, a teleportation mark spread out, and a figure was teleported out. That person was Qin Yu, who was covered in blood and had a weak aura. I've finally escaped. Inside the divine dragon ancient seal, the chaotic dragon's soul heaved a sigh of relief, feeling like it had just survived a calamity. At the last moment, the dragon's soul had unleashed spacetime reversal. With his current cultivation, he had to use it to unleash his potential. If he hadn't successfully condensed his dragon body, it wouldn't have been as simple as just injuring his source energy. However, to be able to escape from a martial ancestor with such a small price was already a great fortune. Qin Yu also let out a deep breath, but he didn't relax like the dragon soul. Although the Heavenly Scar region wasn't under the control of the Myriad Ghost Palace anymore. But the Myriad Ghost Palace's influence had definitely infiltrated the Heavenly Scar region. Li Zhen and the youth with the crimson blade appeared as the 3 universe rings appeared. You've escaped? Li Zhen, who was on high alert, relaxed a little when he saw the quiet valley. What's your name? Qin Yu, who was recovering from his injuries, looked at the youth with the crimson blade, who was still holding onto his saber. Excluding those who had been refined into weapons, there were less than 50 members of the Long family left. The youth with the crimson blade was the one with the best talent among them. Long Zhan, thank you senior for saving my life. The youth with the crimson blade stabbed his saber into the ground as he kowtowed to Qin Yu. His eyes were filled with tears. He knew that if it wasn't for Qin Yu, he wouldn't have been able to escape from the death slave field even with Li Zhen's help. More importantly, Qin Yu had rescued all of the Long clan's clansmen. To Long Zhan, this was more important than him being saved. Get up, Qin Yu said faintly. Why did you save the members of the Long family? Aren't you afraid of implicating the 100 Beast Palace? Li Zhen looks at Qin Yu in bewilderment. He had seen Qin Yu before and knew that Qin Yu had a close relationship with the 100 Beast Palace. But he didn't believe that Qin Yu had saved the members of the Long family because of the 100 Beast Palace. The 100 Beast Palace's influence in the 100 Martial Realm could be considered strong. But compared to the Myriad Ghost Palace, which was filled with experts, the difference wasn't just 1 or 2 levels. Any top force in the 100 Martial Realm could easily suppress a mid-tier force. I saved the members of the Long family for the same reason as you. I once had a relationship with Long Hao. As for the 100 Beast Palace, you can see that I have nothing to do with them after seeing my disguise, Qin Yu said faintly. He knew that Li Zhen had received Long Hao's inheritance from the Skeleton Ghost King. If one were to seriously consider it, Li Zhen could be considered his grand disciple. Long Hao? Li Zhen raised his eyebrows and looked at Qin Yu strangely. He had received the inheritance of the ancient dragon sovereign, so he naturally knew the ancient dragon sovereign's name. But one had to know that whether it was in the heavenly region or the 3 imperial realms. When the sovereign was mentioned, it was the title of the sovereign. No one would call him by his name, unless he was a sovereign of the same generation. Qin Yu actually called the ancient dragon sovereign by his name in such a casual tone? Where did this guy come from? Although we have escaped from Luo Shao City, the Myriad Ghost Palace will definitely not let this go. Do you have a safe place to settle the members of the Long family? Qin Yu did not pay attention to Li Zhen's expression. The Qiankuan space of the 3 Qiankuan rings could accommodate living people, but they could not live in it forever. Since Li Zhen had prepared an ancient teleportation talisman, he must have made preparations. If that was the case, Qin Yu did not need to waste time arranging a location. After all, he had just arrived in the 100 Martial Realm and was not very clear about the distribution of forces in the 100 Martial Realm. Let's go. Li Zhen's expression became serious. Indeed, the Myriad Ghost Palace had lost a lot of face after the commotion caused by him and Qin Yu. They would definitely not let this go. Now, they had to immediately leave the Myriad Ghost Palace's territory. Li Zhen immediately took out another ancient teleportation talisman. After crushing the ancient teleportation talisman, a black hole appeared in the void and enveloped the 3 of them. They disappeared in an instant. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. A vast expanse of yellow sand whistled through the sky. In the middle of heaven and earth, there was a stone pagoda 10,000 feet tall. At the top of the ancient pagoda, an ancient altar lit up. Then, 3 figures were teleported out. This place. At the moment of teleportation, Qin Yu and the Dragon Soul's expressions changed slightly. They could sense some of Long Hao's aura in this ancient pagoda. This is a shattered continent. This ancient pagoda is the place where the ancient dragon sovereign cultivated in seclusion. I obtained the sovereign's inheritance here. Li Zhen activated the ancient pagoda's restriction and led Qin Yu and Long Zhan into the pagoda. After entering the ancient pagoda, the scene before their eyes changed. They appeared in a world filled with birds and fragrant flowers. Summer world. Chapter 206. A venerable sovereign seal, That's safe enough. In the Sumer realm, on the grassland, Qin Yu felt relieved as he examined the sealing power between heaven and earth. Qin Yu knew very well how strong the venerable sovereign seal was. Even if the people of the Myriad Ghost Palace came to this broken continent, they would not be able to find this Sumer realm. If Fairy Xuelon had not deliberately torn space and left an entrance to the Blood Mist Devil Stream, it would not have been possible. On the Heavenly Dragon continent, it would have been impossible to find the Blood Mist Devil Stream. Under Li Zhen's lead, Qin Yu and Long Zhan came to an ancient stone hall. There was a stone statue in the stone hall, and there were 3 mighty auras. That stone statue was shockingly Long Hao's appearance. This kid still looks the same after so many years. Looking at the stone statue, Qin Yu felt a little emotional. This stone statue contained the aura of a venerable sovereign. It should have been left behind by Long Hao after he became a venerable sovereign. However, Long Hao's appearance did not change much from when he was young. He was still dressed in white and carried a long spear, but his aura was much more domineering. This is the venerable ancient dragon. Li Zhen walked up to the stone statue with a respectful expression and bowed solemnly. Ancestor? Long Zhan, who had heard all kinds of legends about Long Hao, could not help but kneel on the ground. The blood in his body was vibrating uncontrollably at this moment, as if something was about to rush out of his body. After Long Zhan kowtowed, Qin Yu's mind moved, and the Long family members all appeared in the stone hall in the 3 layers of the universe ring. Could this be the legendary weapon fusion technique? When he saw the 19 ancient pawns, Li Zhen's eyes narrowed. After a while, he spoke with uncertainty. He had traveled through the 7 great martial realms and had seen all kinds of secret techniques for refining puppets. However, he had only heard of the weapon fusion technique that could refine a living person into a human-shaped weapon. Even among the evil cultivators, such a secret skill was rare. Second brother, father, Long Jean and the other Long family members were even more furious. They wanted to rush up, but they were stopped by Qin Yu. These are the states after the weapon is completely fused. After Qin Yu slightly nodded, those several tens of sealed smelting armament puppets also appeared. It has completely lost its intelligence. After Li Zhen sensed it carefully, his eyes flashed with killing intent. Senior, I beg you. Long Jean was grieved and anxious, and he immediately kowtowed heavily to Qin Yu again. I know what you want to say. Unfortunately, once the weapon fusion technique starts, it cannot be stopped. Qin Yu interrupted Long Jean and said, could it be that my second brother and the others can only wait for death? Long Jean's face turned deathly pale. The other members of the Long family also became even more sorrowful. It's not like they can only wait for death. If they continue to fuse their soldiers, they still have a chance to live. Qin Yu said, continue the smelting? Li Zhen was stunned. Long Jean and the others were even more confused. Whoosh! Qin Yu flicked his finger, a light seal entered the space between Long Jean's eyebrows. That light seal contained the weapon fusion technique that he had obtained from the Soul Search. According to the intelligence of the Myriad Ghost Palace, the true weapon fusion technique was originally a body refining ability in ancient times. Using one's own body as an embryo, one could continuously fuse with weapons to reach an immortal state. However, the ancient times were too long ago, and the true weapon fusion technique had been passed down until now. No one knew about it. As a result, the weapon smelting technique gradually became an evil technique to smelt others into puppets. However, there was also a secret about the true weapon fusion technique recorded in the weapon fusion technique. It was said that as long as one cultivated while enduring the pain of the weapon fusion, it was possible to refine the ancient weapon fusion body. However, it was very dangerous to do so. Now, these 19 people were not only relying on the ancient pool's array to maintain their lives. It was also because that formation had sealed their souls, causing them to be unable to kill themselves. They could only endure the pain of smelting weapons that was worse than death. Once they were released from the array, they might collapse immediately. You know the situation now. You can discuss it with your clansmen. Looking at the struggling Long Jean, Qin Yu did not say much. He walked to a certain place in the stone hall and sat down cross-legged. Although Qin Yu did not suffer any fatal injuries in the Battle of Luogue City, his body's condition was not optimistic. This time, there was no dragon blood, so he could not use the flesh rebirth secret technique. He could only use spiritual pills to heal his injuries. In the future, I'm afraid I can't easily use Azure Dragon battling the heavens. The Dragon Soul and the Dragon God Ancient Seal said as it healed its injuries. Yes, I have to think of a way to improve my strength in other aspects. Qin Yu also knew that although he had successfully rescued the Long family this time, the repercussions were also great. He had completely exposed all his methods in this battle. He had to restrain himself in the future. The Myriad Ghost Palace and the others might not be able to see through his disguise. However, the profound of heaven and earth, secret techniques, divine abilities, and so on were all obvious characteristics. If he used them in front of others in the future, it was very likely that the Myriad Ghost Palace would find out. With his current strength, he was definitely unable to fight against the entire Myriad Ghost Palace. And if he could not use these trump cards, Qin Yu's combat strength would be greatly reduced. I've sensed before. In the 100 Martial Realm, apart from the clues of the ancestral dragon in the demon race's Saint Seal, there is no dragon race. The Dragon Soul said. For Qin Yu, refining the dragon race had always been the fastest way to improve his strength. Even if Qin Yu's goal in this life was to establish the strongest physical body foundation, the path of refining the dragon blood would not be affected at all. The most obvious point was that in the Battle of Luogue City, If Qin Yu had enough dragon blood, he would be able to use many forbidden techniques. In that case, he would be able to use a lot more forbidden techniques. He would not end up in such a dangerous situation at all. One had to know that if it was not for the fact that there was a top-grade dragon vein under Luogue City, it would be impossible for Qin Yu to temporarily seal the martial ancestor realm with a formation. After I recover from my injuries, I can only borrow the power of the 100 Beast Palace to investigate the other martial realms and see if there are any dragon race. Thoughts flashed through Qin Yu's mind. He naturally had to use his identity as the Pill Saint when it was necessary. 2 days later, Qin Yu's ruptured flesh gradually recovered. Long Zhan and the other members of the Long family also made a decision. They would let the 19 members of the Long family walk the path of ancient weapon refinement. One side had a chance of survival, while the other side was completely waiting for death. Long Zhan and the others who came out of the life and death slave field naturally knew that in the current situation, they could only seek survival in death. Qin Yu made a move and used a secret technique to let Long Zhan and the others communicate with the 19 members of the Long family. After that, Qin Yu set up an innate spirit gathering formation to gather a huge amount of spirit qi, and then dispersed the ancient pool formation. Puff 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 puff. However, the moment they escaped the suppression of the formation, 12 of the 19 members of the Long family could not withstand the pain of the weapon refinement and self-destructed. Although Long Zhan and the others were saddened by the outcome, seeing that 7 of them had survived, they still had some hope in their hearts. Half a month later, Qin Yu's injuries had completely recovered. He did not stay in the Sumer realm for long, and planned to return to the 100 Beast Palace. Before leaving, Qin Yu taught Long Zhan and the others the martial art that he had taught Long Hao in the past. Not only that, Qin Yu had also left the countless resources that he had obtained from killing martial gods in the Long family. The cultivation of the weapon refinement art required countless godly weapons. Therefore, apart from a sacred spear, Qin Yu did not keep any sacred weapons. In a way, the disaster that the Long family and the others had suffered was caused by him. These were considered as compensation to the Long family. Chapter 207. Seeing Qin Yu take out countless cultivation resources, Li Zhen was shocked. Even he was extremely tempted by these cultivation resources. Yet, Qin Yu didn't even blink an eye and left it to the Long clan. This made him feel even more strongly that there was some sort of close relationship between Qin Yu and the Long family. After settling the Long family, Qin Yu left the Sumer realm. 10 days later, Qin Yu left the Shattered Continent and returned to the 100 Martial Realm. During his time in the Sumer realm, Qin Yu had not only recovered from his injuries, but his cultivation had also reached the 6th level of Wu Xing realm. His comprehension of the 5 wills of heaven and earth had also broken through to the 3rd level. 7 days later, in a restaurant in the Qinfeng domain, Qin Yu drank wine while inquiring about the major events that had happened in the 100 Martial Realm. Without a doubt, the Battle of the Myriad Ghost Palace and Luogue City was the hottest topic in the 100 Martial Realm. Despite the presence of a martial progenitor realm expert in their own territory, the troublemaker had managed to escape from them. Countless martial artists in Luogue City had witnessed the battle that day. The Myriad Ghost Palace could not suppress them. This news had shocked the entire 100 Martial Realm. Countless forces paid close attention to the details of the battle. Li Zhen's name as the Thunderflame Swordsman had become famous. Countless people were looking for him. Of course, countless forces were more concerned about Qin Yu, whose origin they could not find. Qin Yu had fought against a martial ancestor and escaped with his strength of the martial god realm. Such a battle record had never appeared in the history of the 100 Martial Realm. However, what made Qin Yu feel strange was that the Myriad Ghost Palace's reaction was not as strong as he had expected. It was just a simple reward notice. It did not seem like the attitude of a top force at all. This also caused countless factions to guess whether the person who had wreaked havoc in Luogue City also had a great background. All kinds of rumors flew in the 100 Martial realm. Qin Yu was calmly drinking his wine. Countless thoughts were flashing through his mind. The myriad ghost palace had no reason to let him go. Even if they did not know his identity, they would still investigate. Now that they were acting so strangely, there must be something strange. Could it be that he deliberately released fake news to confuse them? After pondering for a long time, Qin Yu temporarily put aside the matter of the myriad ghost palace. No matter what, since the myriad ghost palace did not make a big move, it meant that they had not discovered his identity. However, when Qin Yu watched the other major events of the 100 Martial realm, his eyebrows couldn't help but twitch. 2 months ago, for some unknown reason, the Snow Marquis Estate and Sky Crane Valley joined forces to attack the 100 Beast Palace. The 100 Beast Palace, the Snow Marquis residence, and the Sky Crane Valley did not exist in the same region. However, the regions where the three of them were located were also extremely close to each other, so there was no lack of friction between them. The Sky Crane Valley and the 100 Beast Palace of the three great factions were sworn enemies. This was because there were many inheritances in the Sky Crane Valley that were related to the spirit beast Dao. Therefore, Sky Crane Valley and 100 Beast Palace had a blood feud that spanned several generations. It wasn't surprising that a war would break out between the two forces. However, the Snow Marquis residence, which had always maintained a neutral stance, had actually joined forces with the Sky Crane Valley to deal with the 100 Beast Palace. This caused many people to be at a loss. Could it be related to God-Burying Ridge? The three great factions wouldn't have suddenly broken out into a war that had lasted for several months. The only thing Qin Yu could think of was the 20 peak martial gods that had tried to kill them back at God-Burying Ridge. After sitting in the restaurant for a while, Qin Yu stood up and left. The Clear Wind region was 12 regions away from the Tianyuan region. 10 days later, Qin Yu, who had been flying at an extremely fast speed, encountered a pursuit before he even reached the region of the three great factions. There were 5 low-level martial god realm demonic cultivators and 17 low-level martial god realm martial artists chasing after them. Qin Yu looked at them for a while and recognized them. They were from the 100 Beast Palace and Sky Crane Valley. Sky Crane Valley clearly had the absolute advantage, but they did not kill him. It was as if they planned to capture him alive. Looking at the powerful beast phantoms that appeared around the martial gods of Sky Crane Valley, it was obvious that they had walked the spirit beast Dao. The scope of the war has already spread beyond the three great factions. Seeing that the 5 from the 100 Beast Palace were stalled and had nowhere to run, Qin Yu reverted to his original appearance and used the Earth escape technique to escape underground. Damn it! The injuries of the 5 from the 100 Beast Palace, who had revealed their beast forms, worsened under the continuous attacks. Ha ha ha, you have nowhere to run. You should just surrender obediently. Arrogant laughter sounded. It was the laughter of Sky Crane Valley and the other martial gods. They were confident that victory was in their hands. You want to imprison our beast souls? Dream on. Determination appeared in the eyes of the 5 from the 100 Beast Palace as their auras grew stronger. Rather than having their beast souls restrained by the Sky Crane Valley, they would rather die a quick death. Be careful of their self-destruction. When Sky Crane Valley and the other martial gods sensed the auras of the 5 from the 100 Beast Palace, they immediately took out ancient talismans. Bang! 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 Just as Sky Crane Valley and the others were about to take out the ancient talismans, the ground suddenly exploded. 5 huge pillars of light soared into the sky and turned into a huge formation, sealing the people of Sky Crane Valley and 100 Beast Palace within. Baleful aura? Is this a saint-grade formation, the baleful earth demon-slaying formation? The martial gods from Sky Crane Valley were shocked when they sensed the baleful aura from the huge formation. Who is it? They lowered their heads and looked at the ground that had exploded. It was obvious that the baleful earth demon slaying formation had locked onto them. Could they be reinforcements from the 100-Beast Palace? Whoosh! A figure soared into the sky and charged into the baleful earth demon slaying formation from the dust filled with baleful aura. Elder Qin. When they saw Qin Yu, the 5 from the 100-Beast Palace were stunned before they were overjoyed. They had thought that the news of Qin Yu's appearance was a trap set up by Sky Crane Valley. They had not expected Qin Yu to actually appear here. Isn't this the kid that the Snow Marquee residents wanted to kill? The news is true. The 100-Beast Palace is very concerned about this kid. Wait, what did they call him? Elder Qin? How could a mere Wu Xing be an elder of the 100-Beast Palace? I see, he's a Saint-grade formation master. The 100-Beast Palace was considered powerful among the mid-tier factions. It was impossible for a mere Wu Sheng to become an elder. However, if Qin Yu had achieved the Saint grade in the formation Rune Dao, the situation would be completely different. Kill him. The martial gods from Sky Crane Valley collected their thoughts and unleashed a strong murderous intent. They were all martial gods and they knew the value of a Saint-grade formation master. It was no wonder that the experts of the 100-Beast Palace had taken the bait when they had spread the news of Qin Yu's appearance. Demon slaying. Qin Yu stood in the sky and pointed his finger. A strong baleful earth chi gathered and turned into baleful earth finger seals that pierced through the sky. Poof 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 poof. In an instant, the martial gods from Sky Crane Valley, who were charging at Qin Yu, were penetrated by the baleful earth finger seals. Even though they were wearing Saint-grade armors, they were unable to defend themselves. How powerful! The 5 from the 100-Beast Palace who were about to lend a hand were dumbfounded. Although they knew that Qin Yu's true strength was enough to kill an ordinary martial god with ease. However, they were still astonished when they saw it with their own eyes. Under Qin Yu's command, the gap between martial gods and martial saints that was as large as a natural moat did not seem to exist. Qin Yu's expression remained the same. Since he could not use the secret skill of the Battle Dragon or the Sky Destroyer formation easily. In that case, the only place where Qin Yu could increase his strength was the formation arrays of the spiritual array discs. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.